217 and 1/2 pounds, introducing Muhammad Ali. Fighting out of Easton, Pennsylvania. He is going for a record 8 straight KO in the heavyweight title defense. He weighs 211 and 1/2 pounds. He is the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Larry, the Easton Assassin, Holmes. 15 rounds of boxing.
What up, boys?
What you've all been waiting for around the world for some months. Ali continues to clown and taunt and tease, but Larry Holmes is here meaning nothing but business. Angelo Dundee and Gene Kilroy say that Ali has Holmes totally psyched, but it's hard to believe when you see Larry Holmes standing there with nothing but seriousness on his face. Ali, always the actor.
Be cool! Okay. Hey, shut up.
Richie Green attempting to give instructions.
Shut up! Quiet. Shut up! Quiet. Okay. Quiet. Go ahead. Look, I gave you guys. I gave you guys an instruction in the room. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? No questions. You're ready to fight. Okay. You're right. Wait a second. Do you have any questions over there? No. Okay. Well, let's go. Okay. Back to the corner.
All right, here we go. It's all set to happen. The history of boxing is on the line. So is Larry Holmes' title. Muhammad Ali can definitely prove that he is not amongst the greatest, but definitely the greatest in everybody's eyes, should he defeat. With determination, the look in his face, we're waiting for the opening bell.
I remember Joe Louis got in real good shape right before he fought for the title, and he looked terrific, but he didn't have the reflexes. We'll see here if he's still got them.
Richie Green trying to establish.
Get back in the ring. Get back in the corner, Holmes. Get back in the corner.
Here we go. Larry Holmes dances across. No joking for Larry at all.
Oh boy, that looks scary.
He wants to prove he's got it over Ali.
Oh boy.
Holmes hasn't caught him yet, but Ali hasn't thrown any punches yet either. Round one just underway. The heavyweight championship of the world. Looking for the opening. Ali still hasn't thrown a punch in round number one. Trained this way. But also when he gave away the first few rounds to Leon Spinks, he got in trouble when he...
But he doesn't seem to be doing it the same way.
He's not doing anything though, Chris.
No, but he is staying in front of him.
unleashed
I think
first
that's
punch
the
of
one to
fight
look
and
out
scored.
for. That's the one he put Liston away with. I think he popped him pretty good. I'm pleased that he's throwing that right.
Coming into the closing seconds now in round one. Now, in analyzing round number one, Muhammad Ali didn't do a thing throughout the first 2.5 minutes of the fight. He scored one good right hand that, I don't know whether it shook Larry or not, but it certainly blinked his eyes and moved his head a bit. But what strategy would you say then we're talking about here, Don?
Strategy is a psychological strategy, one that he's performed numerous times before. He's letting the fighter take his best shots to see if the fighter can really do any damage to him. But this has a twofold effect.
There's a replay of that shot.
The right hand, yeah. It has a twofold effect, which let the other guy know that Ali can take the punches.
And he also slipped an awful lot of punches. I think one left jab got in good, and it was seen to be a exercise in frustrating Larry Holmes.
Well, there's one thing for sure, Holmes is not intimidated by him.
No, I'd say they both respect each other, despite what they're saying.
Yeah, whatever the shenanigans is, these guys really respect each other as two great fighters, and they're in there, and they're going to fight.
As you say, there was nothing, he didn't do anything that round, but it was tense the whole way. It's like about to explode.
Larry Holmes is making the pace in the fight. There's no question about that whatsoever. He's forcing the fight all the way. No damage by that hook whatsoever.
I think Muhammad's trying to position himself where he can use that right hand to sneak right in there.
Yeah, he's trying to work Larry into a position where he have an opening on mistake. You got to get off on him! You got to get off on him!
Ali trying to do what he used to do when he was much younger and toy a bit.
See, he's making Larry miss a lot of those jabs.
Get off! Get off on him! The only problem you lay there. Get off on him! Don't leave a fight. Get off on him!
Again, we remind you of the heat here.
Move your head! Move your head!
See, he's doing a good job of slipping those.
He's working and trying to talk Larry, but Larry's got his man on his business.
Yeah. Larry's cool. He's not wasting any energy.
Larry also noticed trying to get himself in position to one goal too.
Yeah. They've got a lot of respect for each other. Look at that.
Ali's still showing some nice head reflexes.
I was just thinking that he don't look like a 38-year-old man slipping that jab.
No, he doesn't.
Larry looks strong. Looks like it.
Ali's trying to say to Larry that didn't hurt at all. Ali taunting him all the time, talking to him. From Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, that's the end of round number 2.
This is a battle of the minds.
I got a feeling dynamite's about to explode.
corner of the Eastern Assassin, the heavyweight champion of the world, Larry Holmes. Number 3, the heavyweight championship of the world, Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali. First 2 rounds, you have to score ever so slightly in favor of the champion. While no heavy blows were landed, the aggressor all the way was definitely Larry. And Ali's only thrown 1 punch in 2 rounds.
They're both still feeling each other out.
Larry's busy. He's trying to really get in there. And Ali is moving and slipping punches. But he ain't throwing no punches. So every now and then Larry do get a real good shot connected in there. Oh, that's shot right hand.
One thing you have to remember, the size of Muhammad Ali, and throughout his career, he's always been able to take a real good shot.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, that's one thing they didn't have considered in the computer when he fought that Marciano in the computer fight. They didn't know how well he could take a punch.
Another factor to be considered, while Holmes is not considered a knockout artist, all his title defenses have been via the knockout route.
Right. Anybody that questions a man's heart has got to be crazy.
Both of these fellas have displayed great
heart. With some pretty good shots though now.
Yep, he got him right there.
Good shots.
Out there now, there's no clown.
Holmes is pretty fast.
He's very fast.
He's fast. He gets right around and gets right back into the action again.
Get off! Get off! Cut the tree, Tim! Cut the tree!
From Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, that's the end of round number 3. All we can see here at ringside as we continue to see your wide shot here at Caesar's Palace to remind you of the heat here. Muhammad Ali in the early going here has really not thrown any punches. He hasn't done much fighting whatsoever. And we can say this for sure, that he doesn't seem to have except for just a very faint view of the great reflexes he once had. Now we're into the corner of the heavyweight champion, Larry Holmes. What's your assessment of the fight to this point, Don King?
Well, the fight to this point is it's been mostly Holmes throwing punches, mostly Ali trying to maneuver and slip some punches. It would have to be Holmes up to now, but it's a psychological battle going on in that ring that is that they don't see on the screen as a fight. These two guys is trying to mentally outdo each other, and Holmes is determined to try to knock that legend out of the way.
Here we go, round 4. reach advantage, but to this point has not used it. Countries all over the world watching this one. Great Britain, Germany, Mexico, we could go on and on and on. Some 40 or 50 countries watching it live.
In and out, in and out. Move that hand. Good rhythm, good rhythm. Get off, boy. Good rhythm, champ, good rhythm. Get off, boy. That's it, up and down. Nice right hand. Step to the right, go right hand.
At this point in round 4, Ali hasn't changed his style one bit. Still Larry Holmes.
Nice jab. Push it back.
Put that left hand in and go from the bottom to the top, up and down.
Push it back and don't come back.
Holmes is, backing up and missing that right hand counter. He's slipping it. He's coming right back with 2 stiff jabs.
Ali hasn't thrown a combination of punches yet either. He's shown some quickness at moments, but never the combinations that he was there. What was the sneaky right hand?
When he came in, they both fight. It's almost like with that Sam Mamby when Watkins and Mamby would go into an encounter. Holmes come out with the most effective blows.
So far, he sure has.
Continues to stalk Ali. Ali fights out of the corner there. The right hand, but doesn't land at any place. Coming up to the end of round 4 now.
Go for it, Muhammad!
Good punches scored by Larry Holmes in this.
He had the gloves at those punches. They didn't get into it.
Now being warned by Richie Green about hanging onto the rope and hitting. From Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, that's the end of round number 4. So the crowd here loves to see it anytime Ali does anything that's in any way exciting. We talked about the different things that have been going on in the ring, being a battle of the minds more than the battle of the gloves to this point, although Larry Holmes has been able to land many more blows than Muhammad Ali, but every time Ali, people go crazy when he lands a punch. Chris Christopherson, we're going to see the last flurry by Holmes and show you what toll it took here. Shot to the head.
Boy, that may not bother Muhammad. It would sure bother me.
Seconds out.
A good right hand. It got through.
I think Muhammad's got to start moving more. Start doing a little more sticking. He's not throwing enough punches. Well, look out. If he would fight him like he fought Liston, in and out, but he's got to throw. He's got to throw.
That was in 1963. This is 1980.
Right.
Some difference.
Ali is trying to do the remarkable feat of stopping Father Time.
Yeah, but...
And he looks in good physical condition, but he's not throwing any punches, so we can't tell about his reflexes yet because he isn't throwing any punches.
Even when he dances, his legs look heavy, Don. Doesn't have the real bounce that he ever really had that made him the greatest of his time. Muhammad Ali trying to show that he can still move, but Larry Holmes saving energy and staying right on top of it the whole time.
The movement's okay, but you got to throw too.
That looked like a good punch, but nothing happened at all there. In fact, Holmes did an excellent job of slipping that punch.
Keep moving. That's it. Nice right hands in there. Shoot it in there. His jab ain't Pump don't blow. Pump don't blow. Pump don't blow.
Muhammad took a good shot that time. The right hand got through to him, trying to talk to Larry. Larry talking right back.
That was a good right.
Back him up, he'll get out of there. Back him up. Back him up, he'll get out of there.
Angelo Dundee yelling from the corner, back him up, get him out of there, don't let him back you into the corner. Good combination by Larry. Ali clowning again about the knees. Holmes not clowning with the punches, though.
Holmes is really throwing those punches with meaning on them.
Those are jabs, but they're definitely punches here, Don.
Yes.
Yep, he's not answering them either.
Well, that ends round number 5, and Larry Holmes is continuing to build up punches, which means that as you take a look at both corners here, if Holmes continues to build that up, now this is the 10-point must-scoring system. In the 5th round, you'd have to score that at least 10-8 for Larry Holmes.
Yes.
Giving away 2, maybe 3 points on some judges will score a 3-point difference. It's going to make a big difference because Holmes has got to have got 10 points in every single round, and Ali certainly hasn't thrown any punches, so he's lost 4, 5, 6 points for the first 5 rounds at least.
Right. Yes.
And this, as we go through now, the midway through this fight, will begin to develop into what happened in the Leon Spink's first fight, unless Ali begins to change his style immediately.
Yes, he's got to start throwing some leather, because right now he's only on the receiving end, you know. And I think he's trying his strategy to wait out Holmes and see if he's going to tire in the 7th or 8th round, which he's predicted all along.
Well, that's unfortunate, because it's almost like what happened with Mercado and Leon.
Holmes once again right back on top of him again.
Fight him, Muhammad.
Holmes is also seems to be building confidence as he is able to hit Ali too.
Yeah, it was interesting in the early rounds when Muhammad did throw, Holmes would flinch and cover up, but he hasn't thrown enough. And now I think Holmes is getting more confidence.
Yeah, he's gaining confidence. He has this posture, and he's now becoming confirmed in it, you know, and he's really throwing his punch with authority. Ali now, I think Ali starts to throw a lot of blows, but he don't throw them. I don't know whether that's because he's apprehensive of whether or not he's going to miss, or his reflexes are off, or what he's holding back for.
He's jabbing him in the belly,
But those punches, Chris, are taking no toll whatsoever. He's just pawing at him, really.
at least he's in a posture to throw.
Larry's beating him to the punch, too, when they exchange all the time.
I was wondering whether Ali's reflexes is good enough. He starts several punches, but he never follows through with them.
Well, that's the whole question in the age factor. Never mind the weight he lost and the strength and the heat and all that. The reflexes are what goes. Round 6 to this point, it's been all Larry Holmes.
Go after him, Muhammad.
Left hand has been in the face of Ali all evening.
Keep these face. Cut the tree, champ. Go to work. Go to work, champ. Go to work on him. Set him up nice. That's it. That's it. Hit it again. Set him up the jab again. Jump in to the right. That's it. Left hand first. Left hand first.
From Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, coming up to the end of round number 6. So as we continue to evaluate the action here, it's really sad to see Muhammad Ali using hardly any of the things that made him famous.
Go to the ropes and hide and try to do anything. When he's out in the center, go to work with combinations. There's where you're going to get him at.
As you see on the screen, his 60th career fight for Muhammad Ali. But it's Larry Holmes that's been building up the points. We'll show you a little bit of a slow-mo action of some of the activity in round number 6. Holmes wailing away, not doing any tremendous damage to Ali, but scoring punches and building up a nice score for himself. Here we go, round 7, the heavyweight championship of the world. Richie Giacchetti's corner wants him to fight Ali right in the middle of the ring. Ali still hasn't thrown many punches at all, and nothing but try to catch him. There's no question that he doesn't have the tremendous legs anymore. There's no question that he doesn't have the lightning combinations he has at times when you like to see him looking good. Now Larry gives back some of the Ali stuff to him and then is able to hit him. Got to be very frustrating for him.
Yes, what he's doing now, they both is fighting the psychological warfare as well as the boxing match here. And this fight means a great deal to both of them.
As well as Larry Holmes knows Muhammad Ali, he's not going to be psyched by any of Ali's clowning. He's sparred too many rounds of training during Ali's great years.
Ali really believes that he's going to tire after the 7th and 8th round.
Tries to pick up the pace a bit, but it's all dancing and no punches. Many think is the impossible. But Muhammad trying to keep on his bicycle, trying to move, try to deliver, get inside and get out. But Larry's very quick, making him miss punches.
Throwing some devastating jabs, throwing jabs with authority and power.
Notice another thing that the whole attack for Holmes is centered on the head of Ali. And scores.
Scores where? Left hook and right hand.
That's it. Right hand, right hand.
From Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, that's the end of round number 7. So we continue to evaluate the action here at ringside, and all I can think of is that it's kind of sad at this point to think how great Muhammad Ali was in his prime, and to see a man that's just kind of trying to, looks to me, hang on and keep the thing going for one more time. valuing it unofficially here at ringside, I have Larry Holmes 10 points out in front after 7 rounds. 10 points out in front of Muhammad Ali. You have to base that on the fact that Muhammad Ali has only thrown maybe 3 punches in the entire fight to this point. Hasn't landed any real heavy blows.
He's a courageous guy, though.
There's no question about that.
Oh, what a guy he is to take this kind of punishment and not respond. He's a proud guy, and he's really trying to use his psychic powers to try to bring Larry into some sort of control.
So far, it's been Larry Holmes in total control, though.
Take him and move, Muhammad!
Muhammad Ali trying to do something against nature. Become the oldest man to regain the heavyweight championship. Jersey Joe Walcott did it at the age of 37. Ali is 38. As Mrs. Muhammad Ali, more than interested spectator here at Caesar's Palace.
That's it! Right in, Muhammad!
Bring it up and don't come back! Come on!
Right in, Muhammad!
Keep the pressure on! Keep it up! Come on, keep it up!
This round very similar to all the rest.
Work on it! Move your head!
Larry Holmes continues to provide the action and continues to score. Another good shot scored to the left side of the head of Ali.
He can't take it no more!
Right hand, Holmes.
That's it! Finish it off!
You get the idea that Muhammad Ali might explode at any time, too. It doesn't seem that his strategy could be to just sit back this long.
I don't think he's figured something to do.
He's taking a lot of punishment.
Going into the fight, you wouldn't imagine that a fight plan would be to lay back and take that many shots.
He's trying to, I think he's dreaming about what happened in Africa, places where you go to 7-8 rounds and then he can come back again.
Totally different ball game when you're talking about the heavy, thick muscles of a George Foreman.
Boy,
That'll never happen here because Holmes is too strong for that. Ali comes in and Holmes is able to counter him.
That's what it is going to be. It's going to be a counter back and forth. Even when Ali springs into action, Holmes is going to spring back in action.
Closing moments now in round 8.
Holmes looks awful strong.
Well, he continues to develop the same way. It's John Travolta. Just one more of the celebrities on hand here at Caesar's Palace. Don King, you talked about the great pride that Muhammad Ali has had. That's what you have to almost think it's a bit sad to see because everybody would love to see this legend continue. There's no doubt that Ali has been great for all of the history of this sport.
Well, I think the crowd and the crowd here, the sellout crowd, and the 2 billion people that will be looking at it around the world is a tribute to this man's greatness. When all of the writers be writing their stories and discounting Ali, he still has countless millions of fans that are still believers. I think that's a noble tribute to a great athlete.
Get that towel. Get that towel on there.
All right, here we go, round 9. The heavyweight championship of the world. Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes doing battle.
Stick him! Stick him, Muhammad!
Ali getting a bit puffy around the eyes from some of these jabs getting through. Larry Holmes, we're in round 9. Scheduled, as you know, for 15.
Stick work! Keep it work! That's it! Keep it working! Stick! Stick!
I recall, it was Muhammad Ali said that Holmes had fallen 9, wasn't he?
Yes, he said his hand would be 9 and round 9.
Good right hand, the most solid right hand of the fight there, taken on the chin of Muhammad Ali.
I hate it.
Might be... Is Ali hurt? Could he be going down? How much more of this can he take?
Hit him on the right hand! Right hand movement!
Larry really teeing off in round 9. Trying to come back, but doesn't have the great speed he once had. He's got great heart, no question about it, but Larry Holmes, it's all his way right now.
That one
Bring it
hurt.
up, Big Jack! Bring it up! Bring it up, Big Jack!
Holmes is really having a good round here now. Ali taking some vicious shots. Ali getting very puffy under that left eye now.
He's got the courage, but he just hasn't got
Yes,
the...
he has. He's a terrific man. He's a great athlete. Larry Holmes is a great fighter. Larry Holmes is going about his business to prove to the world that he wants his just due. He wants to be recognized as heavyweight champion of the world that he's fighting for.
And he is really teeing off on Ali.
Right in! Right in, Marvin!
He's really working over the body and the head of Ali. Ali taking a tremendous punishment here. Another big round, you'd have to score that at least 3 points in
Yes,
favor of
that was
Larry
a big
Holmes
round
there.
for Larry. He's throwing combinations, hitting sharp blows, left hooks and right hands, working the body, then working the head. He's methodically and calculatedly going about his business. And Ali is not responding in the like that Ali is used to, and the fans are used to seeing him respond in.
Muhammad Ali sitting down on that stool. Angelo Dundee saying over there in the corner, you can barely hear him saying, okay, he's got to start to go now, Muhammad. He's got to be wearing out, but there's no sign of it the way Larry Holmes has been fighting.
No. No.
We'll show you the way
It's sort of like Mercado waiting for
Holmes really-
Leon to tire out.
dominated.
But you notice the crowd is still playing with Ali. They're trying to inspire him. They're chanting Ali, Ali, Ali.
It's got to be an awful feeling when your spirit's willing and your body won't do it.
Body
There we go.
I remember watching Joe Louis do the same thing.
Referee Richie Green tells him to take some of the grease off the face of Larry Holmes. Now let's see if Ali, if he ever intends to pick up the pace of this fight. He better start soon.
I think it's survived.
Larry just continues to tee off the whole story of the fight. And Holmes throwing punches and Ali doing nothing, just taking shots.
Stick in, go ahead. Come on, that's it. Dig in, dig in. Bring it up, Big Jack. He goes down. That's it, go ahead. Stay on it, stay on it. Right back.
Both Muhammad's eyes are very puffy now.
Right hand. Right hands, right hands.
Almost everything that Larry Holmes is throwing now is getting through, too. It wasn't happening in the first 3 rounds.
His punches are becoming with pinpoint accuracy now. He's really connected with Muhammad. And them hooks he throws hook right hands that no one else throws in the business. And Larry is very effective with the hook right hand.
Everybody in attendance here, and I'm sure watching the whole circuit around the world, would love to see Ali explode for Larry to make some sort of fight out of it. To this point, it's just Larry Holmes teeing off on him.
Right hand, Ali, to his jaw. The right hand, Ali. Use your hand. He don't belong in the ring with you, champ. Throw some punches.
Even if Ali would throw a good lucky punch and something would happen, he's proven to all the fans that, it's just not there. The body is weary. It just can't do what it used to do before. And this is a sad recognition that all athletes must come to grips with when they're practicing and being a participant in the sport.
Well, that's, all of us that followed Ali's career all around the world, not only us at ringside here, it's pathetic to see a guy just not be able to do when he was as great as he once was.
All I know is that he'll handle it with class, as he's always handled it.
He's really a classy guy in every sense of the word. The man is standing there and taking his punches. He's taking his dues, but it's the time now.
He could lay down as soon as he found out that his arms weren't working. He's staying there.
Well, the end of round 10.
Stand and keep going. What a courageous stand.
I remember after the first, when Spinks took the title from him, so the reporter was asking Muhammad, don't you feel devastated losing your title? He says, losing the title is one thing. It's not like losing a job or losing your life or losing your wife. He said, that's loss. He handled it with dignity.
Check him out.
Anthony Angelo wants to stop the fight. And they all have bargained with him.
Angelo Dundee wants to stop the fight. That's it. They've stopped the fight at TKO. It'll be scored as a technical knockout.
Barry! Get my purse! My purse!
We got to keep him out. Richie, when you can for closed circuit. Done. Done. Main camera's over here. As you can see, there's pandemonium in the ring. I have Don King with me, who is going to make the presentation to Larry Holmes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Muhammad Ali fails to answer the bell for the 11th round. The winner and still heavyweight champion of the world, Larry Holmes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, fellas, let's get
Come on, Reggie.
to the shot.
Here we get. John, can we try and get him
Down the stairs. No.
I don't know.
Are we supposed to be clearing this out?
Larry Holmes is trying. We're going to attempt to get in and speak to the champion.
We're gonna stand still, Bob. We're gonna get fucking killed.
Larry Holmes attempting to talk to the former champ. Turn around just a bit, Larry. I know it's a very traumatic moment for you. The camera's over this way, Don. And the people around the world, Larry, want to hear from you. You just beat your idol. You retained your title, no question, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Well, I did what I have to do. I want to say, first of all, Mom, I love you. And thank Reverend Jacobs for praying for me. And we'll be home Sunday. But I did what I had to do. And I still love the guy. I don't care what nobody say. He went hell of an athlete.
Everybody does. Larry, was the emotion at the end of the fight, really the sadness of beating your idol?
Yes, it is. But you know, we all come, we all go. And having this man left, but he believes so strongly in himself, he thought he could beat me, so he came back and gave me a try. You can't knock a man for trying.
Okay, we know that he has to get out of here, so congratulations. That's all I can say is you, Larry Holmes. Now for London Television, Reggie Gutteridge.
Larry Holmes, we've shown all your fights in Great Britain. Tremendous performance. Is that exactly how you expected that fight to go?
Yes, I did. I thought it would go a little quicker, but we did whatever we had to do to maintain the heavyweight title. Just to prove you, I'm the only disputed heavyweight champion in the world. There ain't nobody around to beat me. And I don't care what nobody says. Ali is the still baddest guy that ever lived. And he's one hell of an athlete in my book.
You were very emotional at the end there, Larry. Well, obviously, it was a great moment in your life. I've never seen you do that before at the end of a fight.
Well, I never felt that way before about anyone. I always respect the man. People all around the world respect the man. And he's going down in the history as one of the greatest fighters of all time, especially at my time.
Well, that's very modest of you, Larry, and I sincerely hope that your career goes on well, better than ever from here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, a true champion in every respect. Larry Holmes taking time to talk to millions around the world. We'll attempt to get down out of the way here.
Cortez. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, he's wearing the black trunks with gold letters and weighs 156 1/4 pounds. He's from Panama City in Panama. As a professional, he's 84-7, 61 KOs. He's the former lightweight champion of the world, the former welterweight champion of the world, the former junior middleweight champion of the world. Señores y señoras, los manos de piedra, Roberto Duran. And fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with red trim, he weighs an even 159 pounds. He's from the Bronx in New York City. His professional record, 25-4, 16 KOs. He won the championship with a sensational knockout of Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Ladies and gentlemen, the WBC middleweight champion of the world, Iran, the Blade, Barkley.
Dressing room, ya yo te di las reglas aquí en el camerino. When I say break, give me a clean break. But you go break, me don't bring limpio, okay? Ya saben, me di las reglas adentro, o siempre escucha mi commands, okay? Give him, take hands out. Good luck. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Hey, come on. Iran. Come on. Come on. Shake hands. Come on. Let's shake hands. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Let's go.
And so the stage is set. There's not a seat to be had in this convention hall. And everybody pumped up to see that man, Roberto Duran, try and win his 4th title, and to see if Iran, the Blade Barkley, can defend his WBC crown the first time. And Gil, we expect Barkley to be very aggressive early, and it looks like he is.
And Roberto Duran is going to have to make Barkley miss and counter and move to the side the way he just did then. In and out. Throw his combinations and get out of there. May be easier said than done.
Iran Barkley at 28 has never been thought of as a great ring technician, but he probably has better skills than people are willing to give him credit for. He certainly has power, and that's what he hopes will be useful to him tonight against Duran, a man who, after all, still is coming up from 135 pounds when he started.
Good left hooks by Barkley. And you have to remember, Al, that Roberto Duran, hands of stone, has never shown that much power as a middleweight up to this point. Great defensive fighter. There's those combinations by Duran.
Well, the feeling is that this will be a war however long it lasts, and it's giving some indications already of being that. I don't think Iran Barkley's ever been in a fight that wasn't entertaining. Barkley using the jab, and there's that left hook to the body. He has got a good left hook downstairs.
There's that counter by Roberto Duran. Make the other guy miss and counter. And you know, Al, they say there's so much bad blood between these two guys. I'd still wager that no matter how the fight ends, that they're going to shake hands and probably hug each other when the fight's over. Well, you gain respect during a fight.
I'm not so sure I agree with you on that. Maybe that will happen, but we'll see.
Well, let's wait and see.
All right. Iran Barkley, of course, we've chronicled how he feels his friend Davey Moore took the beating at the hands of Duran. In that fight, Duran thumbed Moore. There were a lot of illegal tactics.
Nice move by Barkley that time.
Iran's showing us a couple of things in his first round that people don't always give him credit for. An excellent jab, and as you say, some good movement as well. And he's going to the body. You said earlier today when we were talking, you thought Iran Barkley should test the body of Duran, and he's starting to do that.
Well, as I said, if I was training Iran Barkley, he'd be throwing punches at nothing but that body. The head would take care of itself, because Roberto was too slick, just too slick to hit on the head.
Duran lands the right, is knocked off balance. Whether he was hurt, we don't know. It's a 20-foot ring, but they're not using much of it. Barkley, the 28-year-old from the Bronx, who beat Thomas. Oh, big right hand staggers Barkley.
Barkley is hurt. He is hurt. No question about that. We mentioned the fact that Duran has not shown punching powers in middleweight, and here it was.
A big right hand by Roberto Duran brings most of this crowd to its feet. Al Bowman will try and offer some words of encouragement to Iran Barkley.
Keep that left hand up. Keep boxing. Keep boxing. Don't try to run in now. People get that stuff loaded up now. Take your time. You're going too fast. Get the jab. The jab is what you want to do. Okay? Get the jab working. Stay with it. Slow it down a little bit. So he ain't doing that.
Here it is, the right hand.
Slips the punch, right hand right over that left hand of Barkley. What a beautiful move. That's what we said he has to do. He has to make Barkley miss and then counter punch.
How many reincarnations can this man have as a pro, and are we seeing another one tonight? It's too early to tell, especially against Iran Barkley, who we've seen come get off the deck to beat people.
Barkley has a way of coming back. I mean, he's just a warrior. No question about that. But he can't get nailed with too many of those punches, Al.
Roberto Duran, he's 37 years old. Barkley trying to hang on to his WBC middleweight title. He felt the power of Duran in the first round, and round two.
We talked about the emotion of Barkley, how he wanted to get even for his friend Davey Moore. But he is fighting a controlled fight, Al. He's not going wild, moving in behind the jab.
It's a very good point, Gil, and a little different of a first round than we thought we'd see from Barkley. He left one of those jabs out there, and that's why Duran nailed him with the overhand right.
Well, Duran has to make Barkley miss and then take advantage of every opportunity.
lost to Sugar Ray Leonard in 1980, his total record is 12-7, so he has not been real effective in a lot of big title matches in recent years. But he's off to a good start in this one. Good right hand by Barkley, but it does not move Duran back. This one will be warfare.
Good body punches by Barkley, and there's another one. Little short left hook by Roberto.
You can see the fire of Iran Barkley coming out now, but Duran not backing up. Terrific body shots by Barkley. My, is he going downstairs well. Halfway through round 2, and this fight is all that it was billed as. Duran going downstairs.
Landing those body shots every time he gets a chance. He drops one down in that body.
So far, that's probably the major story other than the right hand by Duran, because in a couple of rounds, those body shots would take a big toll on the 37-year-old body of Duran, no matter what his weight.
Duran is looking to throw that right hand over that left hand of Barkley's again, though.
And you know what? Iran Barkley doing a better job of covering up on the inside than some people are used to seeing from him. Using his strength to push Duran back. Excellent uppercut by Barkley. Overhand right, but the left hook gets there by Duran. And a right hand by Roberto.
Took a lot of body punishment this round, though, Al.
It's been a good round for Barkley to this point, though Duran is landing his share also right now. Barkley slips the right hand.
Duran's mouth is now wide open. It's only the second round now.
It is scheduled for 12, but at this pace, could it go that long? Joe Cortez looking very carefully in to make sure. Well, that'll do it for round 2. A good one for Barkley. We follow the hands of Stone back. He does look a bit tired. As you look at this man, he came here, obviously, to turn this into a war, feeling that was his best shot.
He has to stay to the side, side to side, and move inside Barkley's punches, counter, and then get back out. You can't trade power for power with Iran Barkley. Those body punches are going to take too much out of him.
These Roberto Duran fans, they're never say die people. They remember very well in Madison Square Garden when they filled it what this man did the day before, his last really grand moment of glory. He's trying to rekindle it against one of Davy's best friends. Of course, Davy Moore, no longer with us, died in a car accident. And this man, Iran Barkley, has dedicated this fight to his friend's memory. Right now, it's only him, though, against Duran as we head into the third. Barkley's body attack has been superb, and he's also shown us an excellent jab.
And he doubles up that jab.
Well, it's in vogue to denigrate the boxing skills of Iran Barkley, to talk mostly about his power and his courage, but he's showing us more of the boxing skills tonight.
And you can also watch Barkley do a stutter step with his feet. He's feinting with his feet. There's that right hand again. But Barkley answered with a good short left.
Barkley's been on the mat before. Michael Lajide had him there. He lost to Robbie Sims by knockout in a wild affair. And Hearn certainly punished him, but he comes back when he's hurt. And you see it here.
And you know, you mentioned Robbie Sims. I did the fight with Duran and Robbie Sims, and a split decision. It was just such a tough fight for Duran to lose.
Interestingly, that is their common opponent, and they both lost to Robbie Sims, even though Robbie has never found his way to a world title.
You know, I just detected something, and they shouted to Barkley from his corner, watch the right hand, because I could see Roberto trying to set him up, lull him to sleep, and then drop that right hand over his jab.
We're halfway through round 3, a round in which the pace has slowed just a bit, but not much. And it needed to, for both fighters' sakes.
Good jab by Roberto Duran.
Probably his best jab of the fight so far.
What a man this Roberto Duran is.
He's in against a guy who physically is much stronger than him.
You know, even against the big middleweight, Barkley just looks so big. He looks like a light heavyweight.
He really does. And that power has helped him in most middleweight fights. Master boxer Sambu Kalabai thwarted his efforts to win a title before.
Body shots again by Barkley.
But right now, the body work, as you said, of Barkley, a real important weapon. That right did not even stop Duran. It landed perfectly. The real power of Barkley is probably in his left hook, although Tommy Hearns was nailed with a big right. Round 3 just about over. It's been an excellent round for Iran Barkley. Counter right over a lazy jab by Barkley, but he smiles at Roberto Duran. Some gamesmanship from the champion from South Bronx.
Okay, how you feel? Good.
We follow him back in. That's Al Bolden talking to him.
Work that body. Keep him working. Keep him backing up. Take a deep breath. Do your jump. Do your jump. Yeah. Keep putting that jab out on him, working that body. Him with them shots. He's trying to use that right hand to the head. Try to sleep. Keep the right hand to your head, okay? Keep them hands up and work that jab. Step in with the jab. Double it up. 1-2, quick 1-2 every now and then.
Look at the end of the round in which Barkley had some excellent moments on the inside. And there's that right over the lazy jab of Barkley.
Hey, Duran is so smart. He just looks to lull him to sleep, and then boom, he explodes. That's what he has to do. Fight in flurries, score points when he can.
We're heading into round 4. The eyes of Roberto Duran. There's a sinister look there, even now. And Duran comes out wailing away to the body in the 4th round. Good hook by Barkley. You talked about what a controlled fight Barkley is fighting, much more so than I think anyone anticipated from him.
Yes, he seems to really, you know, I've always said that once a guy becomes champion of the world, it automatically makes him like a 25% fighter. And I guess maybe they feel good, whatever it is, and he has good coaching, but he is a much improved fighter in this fight.
He looks better, period. And we've talked at length about...
low, very low.
Duran complains to Joe Cortez.
And rightly so.
Who says lift him up, and it was rightly so. But I'm sure Iran Barkley's thinking to himself, he's complaining. Duran, the master of some extracurricular activities. But I tell you, Iran Barkley is committed to that body work, and it is really paying dividends for him so far in this bout.
Duran is going to have to use that right hand a little more.
Barkley pushing him off. Oh, my. Combinations on the inside by both men. The right hand
again, and Barkley wobbled a little bit in.
That right hand hurt Iran Barkley, but when you hurt him, he seems to be more dangerous. It's been his track record. What a war. Uppercut on the inside by Barkley.
Watch your head. Watch your head.
Those are those short little combinations that Duran has to throw, but then he has to spin out and get out of there. He can't wait for the receipt.
Iran Barkley has followed his game plan perfectly, and yet Duran very competitive because he's so clever throwing those counter right hands. We talked about the cuts, nothing like that developing over the eyes of Iran Barkley. He's got to be very heartened by that at this point.
Well, I wouldn't like to see either fighter get cut, Al.
No, and it's very good because there was the concern over Barkley cutting.
Al, this could be the round. It could be the big turning point in the fight because they're just staying there. Mano a mano, I guess.
Oh, what a right by Duran. They are both landing big shots. Who will go? Duran is now stunned.
Okay? Keep working the jab inside. Shoot that punch in the body and bring up to the chin. Okay? Take a deep breath. How you feel? Feel good, baby. You're working. You're working. Let's don't get careless. You're working him down.
Here's the low blow that Iran Barkley landed. You'll see the reaction of Duran. Yeah, I guess that was low.
It certainly was low.
He came right with the left hook, and this was later in the round when Duran had his moments.
You know, they talk about Duran having hands of stone. He's got a chin of stone. He got to hit some good shots right on the butt.
Let's go. Take us out. Come on, let's go.
Boy, it must seem like deja vu to Iran Barkley. Here he is in a terrific war. He's from New York. We're in New Jersey. And what is this crowd yelling? Duran, Duran. Just like when Davey Moore fought in his hometown against Duran. We're into round 5, and if there is any discouragement on the part of Barkley because of that, I doubt that it'll show. He is a very courageous and tough performer. It's been 4 rounds of non-stop action. Remember, Duran landed a big right in the second that seemed to hurt Barkley. Barkley did great body work in the first and the third and in the fourth, but Duran came back with some good shots toward the end of that 4th round.
Oh, that was a tough round to score, Al.
Was it ever?
You really had to be alert because Duran landed some beautiful short combinations. But meanwhile, Barkley worked the entire 3 minutes.
Early in the round, Barkley was very effective, and then perhaps in the last minute, Duran with the edge. Scheduled for 12 for the WBC Middleweight Championship that now rests with Iran Barkley. Duran seeking his 4th world title.
Big right hand by Barkley, and it did not faze Roberto Duran.
And it was followed by an excellent uppercut. Iran Barkley is landing major league punches, and Duran's going nowhere. And now Duran countering well.
2 solid right hands by Duran. You know, this fight may wind up being who's the better catcher, not who's the better pitcher.
They're both pitching and they're both catching. Great body shot by Barkley.
We got it.
A strong jab by Iran Barkley. Everything's landing now just about. That's the difference between Duran now and maybe 8 years ago. He never would have been hit with this many punches, but he's taking them. You see the sneer from Duran.
I just don't believe this man.
It's astonishing he's taking these punches from Barkley because, let me tell you folks, Iran Barkley is a good middleweight puncher. No, he's an excellent middleweight puncher. Big right on the inside by Barkley.
Good combination, left hook, right hand. Roberto, as you say, is doing a lot of catching, but he hasn't been wobbled.
Ironically, Barkley is probably following their game plan to a T, and yet Duran is still there. I'm sure they thought if he did all this, Duran would fold. We're in round 5, and it's been fought at a torrid pace right from the first round. Duran going to the body. As we conclude round 5, again the crowd picks up the chant of Duran's name. Big right by Duran. Another one goes in the books, and I mean an outstanding round.
Keep the jab moving inside. You got me? Come on.
There may be a cut over one of Iran Barkley's eyes. We'll take a peek and see if we can find it. Yes, Ed Aliano, very fine cut man, will work on it.
Get back in the fight. Okay? Come on, then. You got to keep working with that jab now. Work that jab and work that body. Don't let him rest. Don't let him rest. Don't set up that pose with him. Keep popping it. We're going 1, 1, 1. 1, 1, box. 1, 1, box. Okay? Take a deep breath. Come on now. You can't sit down there and go to sleep and let him get back in the ball game. Okay? You got to keep working. Keep that pressure. Long as the fight goes, the better for you. Okay? You got to keep working him, though. You got me? Okay, fine. Okay. Come on now. Take a deep breath. Let's go. Go back with that jab. Let's go.
We're headed for the 6th, nearing the halfway point in this middleweight championship match. Roberto Duran standing in there against Iran Barkley.
You know, Al, I noticed at the end of the round that Duran looked in a little better shape than Iran Barkley. Barkley was starting to show a little signs of being tired.
I think you're right, Gil. And Al Bolden pumping up Iran Barkley, saying the longer the fight goes, the better it is for us, but that may not necessarily be the case, though you would have thought that coming in. We're in the 6th. Duran Barkley on the right of your screen and Roberto Duran on the left, and if you didn't know that, you've been in a time capsule for the last 20 years. It's likely that Barkley is ahead on the scoring. I would think he is, and yet Roberto Duran's had some very fine moments in this bout.
Well, you see, what Barkley's been doing is working the entire 3 minutes, and Roberto is throwing beautiful, showy combinations, but not enough of them, in my opinion.
The judges, we might remind you, Tommy Kazmarek from the U.S., Giuseppe Ferrari from Italy, and Dave Brown from Canada.
Barkley works and works.
He's been the more active of the two. Which is not to suggest that Duran hasn't been active. This may be the most punches Duran has thrown in a fight in years.
You know, Al, I just can't believe that this is the same guy that won the lightweight championship of the world for my fighter, Kenny Buchanan, in 1972.
Long time.
Good left hook by Roberto Duran. And now he's fighting for the middleweight championship.
In 1989. And along the way, boy, there have been some ups and downs for him. And of course, he fluctuates in weight so badly. Back in October, Roberto Duran may have weighed as much as 190 pounds. And look at him now, he's 156, obviously in great fighting shape, and battling on fairly even terms with Barkley.
You know, I talked to him right after this fight with Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and it was a very, very close fight after 12 rounds. And he told me, he says, I just got tired in those last couple of rounds. And the same thing happened to him with Robbie Sims. But now he seems to be in better condition. He's a little lighter. I just don't know if he can keep this pace up for an entire 12-round fight.
And, of course, the question of all that body punching that Barkley has done, what effect will it have as we head into the later rounds? This round, probably the slowest of the fight, even though there's still been a lot of offense shown.
This round has been all Barkley up to this point, though, Al.
Yeah, he's throwing more combinations, working the body, still using that jab effectively. And so if we thought he was tired after the last round, he's shown us a second wind here. And now Duran pushing his punches a little bit. Barkley digging to the body as he has been throughout this bout. That'll do it for round 6.
Sunday.
Here they come.
We're speeding around the Richmond International Raceway. 400 miles of pure adrenaline as the NASCAR Winston Cup Series continues.
Take a look at this. Going for the lead. He's on the outside making the move.
The Miller Genuine Draft 400 is a race for over $800,000 in prize money.
Oh, one blows up right in front of him, Warren Burton. What a tense moment.
High-tech engines in a battle here on Premier Sports Sunday.
You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Saturday on Premier Sports, the NBL clash when Brisbane take on Illawarra in the match of the night. Here on your #1 sporting channel, Premier Sports. So go on, watch it.
I like to move it, move it. You like to
What Duran has to do is make Barkley miss and nail him coming in. He's going to have to nail Barkley with some big punches to get himself back in this fight.
Iran Barkley comes out for round 7. You see the substance over his left eye. There looked like maybe there was a minor cut there, but it hasn't developed into anything. And Ed Aliano, who of course is known as one of the best cut men in the business, Percy Richardson, one of the other great cut men also here tonight, working with some of the Olympians. He did a good job of closing it. Round 7 action. Set for 12. The WBC Middleweight Championship. The champion Iran Barkley.
Good left hook by Roberto Duran.
Duran landing on the inside. So is Barkley. And if they took a little time off in the 6th, although Barkley certainly didn't, Duran came out hard here in the 7th. Could this be his last stand in this bout?
So smart, though, inside. Barkley just fires, but Duran knows what he's doing. He moves around.
What a hook by Barkley.
And a good right hand by Duran.
The fact that Barkley is cranking up those hooks and landing like that, and Duran is not being staggered. Really is amazing.
Well, as I say, this may wind up being the guy who can catch better.
The crowd starts to chant again. Even if it's not a home crowd for Duran when it starts, like Ali and some of the other greats like Sugar Ray Leonard, it always ends up being a home crowd for him. Barkley using the uppercut, that's been a real good weapon for him.
Duran slipped 6 consecutive punches that time. Just what beautiful boxing.
He's a master of defense. That's always been one of his trademarks. Excellent right hand. That one stunned Barkley, I think.
Barkley answered with a vicious left hook to the body, and Duran came back. He's nailing Barkley with some big punches now, Al.
What an uppercut by Barkley after Duran hit him with big shots. Nothing is phasing Roberto Duran. What a double left hook by Barkley. Duran holding on.
He's hurt, Al. First time in a fight, he's really hurt.
Can he weather this storm? Duran is hurt. He was hurt with 2 left hooks. Round 7 has been a classic.
Just about every round in this fight has been a classic.
That's true. Crowd trying to pump up Duran. How much is left in that 37-year-old body? That's what Iran Barkley's wondering.
He's blowing now, Barkley.
Why not? Oh, right hand again by Duran over a very lazy jab by Barkley. Nothing comes easy to Iran Barkley, and it's not coming easy tonight.
Watch your heads inside.
Right misses by Barkley. 3 straight left hooks by Barkley. 2 to the body and 1 to the head. Duran still responds. They stare at each other after the 7th round.
Let's go, Tom. You got to work that big fella. Okay, now you heard me? You got to keep working. Give me this punch. Put your hand high on your head. Catch the punch upside your head. Dip down and go back to the bottom, bring up to the chin.
We've talked about the left hook of Barkley. What a good example here.
Let's take a look now. Ooh, 2 left hooks right on the button. But Duran did not move.
And he finished with the right. Now Roberto Duran has his moment in that last round. The counter right over that low left hand has been so effective.
That's what Duran has to do. He has to nail him with those big punches.
All right, second out.
Barkley has to say to himself, what's keeping this guy up? I mean, he's hit him with some vicious punches.
Iran Barkley, 16 KOs among his 25 wins. He's knocked out some good people, including Michael Lajide and Tommy Hearns.
And his manager just told him, he says, Barkley, you're in a fight. I don't think he has to be reminded of that.
I'm fairly certain Iran Barkley knew that.
You know, one of the things I liked about Barkley at the end of the last round, as big a war as the round was, at the very end of the round, Barkley still had his composure, still using that left jab.
It's been a more disciplined effort by Barkley. And it's a good thing for him it has, because otherwise he would have been getting hit with a lot more. Good short left hook by Barkley. That hurt him. Duran in trouble from the left hook.
Everything but his heart is in trouble, Al. Look at this Duran fire back.
Can Barkley take him out? Duran doing a wonderful job of tying him up on the inside and slipping punches and landing his own uppercut.
He's so smart, Al. He knows inside he's protecting himself, relaxing, trying to clear his head.
If there is a smarter fighter around than Roberto Duran, it would be unlikely. The Barkley left hook has been such a good weapon the last 2 rounds, and that one really stunned Duran. But Roberto is surviving so far.
You know, I just never count Roberto Duran out, but it looks to me like he's pushing his punches now, Al.
He's lost something, that's for sure. Again, the hook by Barkley.
But a nice move before the hook. Stepped over to the right, came back with the hook. Barkley's shown me a lot of improvement as a fighter tonight. Win or lose.
Perhaps Iran Barkley's best effort, you could make the case.
I would absolutely have to say so.
Against an obviously rejuvenated Duran.
And Barkley made Duran miss that time and nailed Duran with the left hook.
Good body work by Barkley. He is remembering his game plan, keeping his poise and still doing the things that have made him effective in this bout.
Then a little step over to the right now. There it is again by Barkley. Getting an angle on Roberto.
Big right by Barkley, but Duran lands his own right. Round 8 action.
Come on, get him out.
Action is the operative word.
Duran just will not stop. Those short little punches are very, very effective inside.
Under a half minute left to go in the 8th round, a round in which Duran was hurt early and has survived.
Duran is starting to push his punches a little bit now, but they are landing.
Again, the body work by Barkley. An uppercut. He's shown us almost every punch in his arsenal tonight. And still, Duran will not fall. It doesn't get better than this.
Work it, keep working. Keep shooting them punches, shot them up, see? When you duck under, bring them hands high. You try to hit the hook to the head, duck right under, bring the short hook. Uppercut right up on your knee. You're doing great. You're doing great.
El Golden wants short punches. Here's what he got in the last round.
There you go. He made Duran miss. Came back with that left hook.
And that wasn't a wide left hook. That was a very short punch.
Good snappy move. There he made a miss. And back with that left hook.
How many fighters would have stayed up under that? That's exactly the left hook that knocked Michael Lajide down and helped him get a TKO win over Lajide. There's Roberto Duran. We're headed to the 9th. Many thought it would not go this far.
Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Come on.
Barkley suffered a little bit of a cut over the left eye. He's got some swelling under the left eye, but it hasn't been a major factor.
A couple more punches and that eye's going to close, though, Al. If he blows his nose, for sure it'll close.
Remember, Iran Barkley, who has a propensity to cut, suffered cuts over both eyes in winning the title against Tommy Hearns, and I saw him against Jorge Amparo. He was a bloody mess in that one.
Barkley's starting to dance now a little bit. He was trying to coast through around. There's that little dance step. Hands painting with his feet.
He has a right to it. He's probably far ahead, wouldn't you agree?
Well, yes, I would have to say that this is a tough fight, and it's a fight that you have to watch because anything can happen. But point-wise, I have Barkley comfortably ahead.
Will the reputation of Roberto Duran mean anything to the judges, though? A question to be asked.
That's what gave me gray hair when I was managing and training fighters. It's not supposed to mean anything. You know?
But then remember the judge that had Sugar Leonard 7 points ahead against Hagler at the end of that fight.
Wasn't that the judge that Hagler's people selected?
Yes, amazingly so. Good right by Duran.
It's not as much snap on Duran's punch now.
You're right, he's pushing it more. Halfway through the 9th round, scheduled for 10. Right hand by Barkley, but Duran comes with his own left hook.
Come on, work out of there. Come on, work out of there.
Just get the sense somehow that Duran can take a better punch right at this moment in the fight than Iran Barkley. If Duran landed a big, clean punch, I think it would have a big effect on Iran because he's tired. Good work.
Good straight right hand. Barkley backs up and takes a right hand. He may be in a little bit of trouble.
Well, you can see he's really... He's composed, but he's tired, no question. I mean, he should be.
And he goes to the body again. I am amazed that in this 9th round, Duran has taken the body punishment he's taken, and he's still there.
You know, you see these kids fight the amateurs. They fight 3 rounds, and they train hard, and they get tired. The reason that Duran is able to do what he's doing, he's so relaxed in the ring. He's so comfortable in there.
Half a minute left to go in this 9th round. A strange footnote to this fight is it's only the 2nd time in his long pro career that Roberto Duran has fought in Atlantic City. Alien territory to him, but he's still got his fans, as you've heard throughout this bout.
And they came through the snowstorm to be here.
I bet you they did, to fill this arena.
Let's go, come on, let's go.
Round 9 is ending, perhaps Duran's best round in the last 5 or 6. What would a Duran fight be without that flag in the crowd? Corner of Roberto Duran, he's seeking his fourth world title. As you certainly know, he won the lightweight title, the welterweight, and the junior middleweight. He has failed as a middleweight to win the crown. He's behind in the fight, Gil. I think we feel that in any case. Is there enough time for him to turn around the decision?
Don't make no mistakes.
No, I think he's going to have to nail him and really win the round big. Believe me, if Duran finished and won these last 3 rounds comfortably, there'd be a lot of excitement in this hall if he didn't get it.
The left eye of Iran Barkley, a good look at it. As Gil pointed out, it could be ready to close. Little reminiscent of the right eye of Davey Moore when Duran fought him in '83. But the difference here is that Barkley has done much better work in this bout and is probably ahead, but it could be academic the way they're wailing away.
It almost looks as if Roberto Duran has got a second or third win. Where he got it from, I don't know.
I haven't a clue. With punishment he's taking from Iran Barkley, both to the body and the head.
Watch for that right hand of Duran's.
When Barkley is lazy with the jab or misses with the hook, that's when the right hand comes across from Duran. It is scheduled for 12.
Duran has been landing with the left jab, believe it or not, against the taller guy.
And that was a punch that was dormant early in the fight, but now Duran getting it cranked up.
There's that right hand. And another one on the left hook.
And when he does that, Barkley reverts to his old form and wails away, which makes him even more susceptible to get hit with the counter punch. It's been a good 10th round for Duran. He cannot be underestimated, even at 37. I guess he's proven that to me.
He's proven to me again that he's one of the greatest fighters that ever lived.
Again, the overhand right in a round in which, like the ninth, Duran has done some excellent work. Good right by Barkley, and there's the jab re-emerging of Iran Barkley. Remember how effective that was over the first 7 or 8 rounds. And every time there's a lull, that chant goes up.
Barkley's legs are starting to spread now.
Duran waited for 3 missed jabs by Barkley, and then landed an overhand right. Good right hand on the inside by Duran. It's been a remarkably clean fight from Duran. No headbutting, no elbows.
Big right hand by Duran again.
Break out.
There have been those, and round 10, a huge round for Duran. Again, the body work of Barkley. The low blow by Duran. Round 10, a big one for the hands of stone.
You hear me? Come on now, let's go to work. Suck it up. Let's go. You hear me? Let's go. You got to win these next 2 rounds big. You got to get inside and stay inside with this guy. Don't take on the glove here. Don't take on the glove.
A tired Iran Barkley getting some encouragement from Al Bolden. They want him on the inside.
But you know, the thing that amazes me is I thought Duran in about the 7th to 8th round was really starting to show signs of weariness. He came back and fought that last round like it was the first round.
And as we look at Roberto Duran at 37, he has the fans pumped up and he's got himself pumped up. The question, I guess, now is if he doesn't score a knockout, which is not out of the question, can Duran win a decision? 6 more minutes of fighting for this man. Will it be his last 6?
If he fights the 11th and 12th round the way he fought the 10th round, I think it's going to be tough for the judges to vote for Ivan Barkley. You know, they like to see a guy finish strong.
Of course, the question is, how many of those early rounds did Barkley take? You have him taking quite a few, but you've got at least 3 or 4 marked close.
3 of them close, which means they could be slide right over into Duran's corner.
I haven't scored it round by round. I would think Barkley's got to be ahead by at least a couple of points, but again, we've got 2 rounds left. Scoring on a 10-point must system. No one has been knocked down in the fight, so presumably these are all 10-9 rounds. But remember, Duran was hurt very badly in the 2nd round, and again in the 8th. Badly hurt in the 8th by a left hook.
Now, Duran threw that right hand with bad intentions. He had about as much snap on that as he's had on any right hand in the earlier round.
Ironically, after he was hurt in the 8th, Duran started his comeback in the 9th round, and in the last 3 has been excellent.
And now Barkley's back to that body again and back up to the head. You can't try to outthink Duran. He has to outbomb him. That's what he has to do.
We're in the 11th. It's a 12-rounder, and it may go. Good hook downstairs by Barkley, and the jab, but nothing is phasing Duran right now.
Except that Barkley is scoring in this round.
Hasn't been a bad round for Iran. We're halfway through. Who will win the second part of this round?
There's Duran setting to throw that right hand. I can see it from here.
He's looking for the lazy jab of Barkley. They trade hooks. The left eye
ran Barkley. The left eye is almost closed, and he is showing signs of weariness. No question about that. There's a right hand and a left hook by Duran, and another big right hand by Duran.
Barkley may not be seeing the right hand, and yes, Duran is nailing him with it. They want Barkley on the inside, where he isn't going to be hit with that overhand right. Big right by Barkley. But again, the right by Barkley's in trouble. He's hurt. He's down. First knockdown of the fight.
Hey, how you feel?
Well, I can just feel that coming. Just feel it coming.
He's very wobbly. Another right hand by Duran.
Look at Duran go to work. And nice and relaxed. Calm.
Remember, though, Iran Barkley has tremendous heart. He's been down before and gotten up. Only a few seconds remain here in the 11th. The first 2-point round of the fight. Barkley looking for his corner. He's smiling, but he's hurt.
Well, that was a big round. You say 2-point round? That may have been a 3-point round.
Very possibly. We'll see the knockdown.
And you know, you have to remember the 10th could have been a 2-point round. There's that first right hand. There's the left hook, another right hand. And there's the big one, and down he goes. Right on the button.
Combinations from this 37-year-old in the 11th round.
I don't see how Barkley can recover from these shots and come back in this next round. We're talking about a surgeon operating on somebody. There's a surgeon for you.
The combination by Duran puts him down. Iran Barkley has his work cut out for him in the 12th. The 12th and final round. The WBC middleweight crown is at stake, and believe me, it is at stake right now. Barkley, has he shaken the cobwebs?
Well, now it's up to Roberto Duran to have a good finishing round. And as we had mentioned, after the 9th round, if Duran won the last 3 rounds big, that he could get this fight.
And again, the right hand bounces off Barkley's head. Remember, they told Barkley the longer the fight goes, the better it is for us. It hasn't worked out that way.
Well, we noticed now, remember I mentioned, I said it looks like Roberto Duran got his 3rd win. Where he got it from, and I just felt he was stronger than Barkley going into those last few rounds.
He said he was in good shape. He looked excellent in his sparring sessions. He came in at a good weight, and yes, Roberto Duran's for real in this bout.
He's still going to have to land another big bomb, Al. He can't think that he has the fight won by any stretch of the imagination.
And interestingly, it's Barkley who's pressing the attack and landing in this round. There's not been a bad beginning in the 12th round for Barkley. This has been a fight of twists and turns.
Well, you have to watch the end of this round. I'm sure Roberto Duran has a good plan for the end of this round.
That's the part he wants to win. He's landing right hands again.
He hurt Barkley again.
Now remember, even if he wins this round, there's no guarantee Duran will win a decision, but he'll be right there.
Oh, hit him down there. Come on, work out there.
Early, Barkley was very effective. Duran started to come back in the middle rounds, especially by the ninth.
Combination by Duran. All 3 punches landed.
What about the heart of Barkley, though, Gil? He was so hurt. Here he is in the 12th.
Both these guys have tremendous heart. There's no question about that. When Roberto Duran, those middle rounds looked like he was all out of it, we said the only thing he had left is heart. Boy, somehow he got that one second, third win, whatever.
You know, with a minute left, Barkley's still landing good short punches. He landed a great short right hand that drove Duran back. This has not been a bad round for Barkley.
Let's just watch these last 45 seconds, Al.
It'll tell us a lot.
There's that big... Look at Barkley's legs. Doesn't have a leg under him. And look at Duran now. Dancing around, playing.
The jab by Barkley. Can Duran afford to dance around, though? It's been a round that's very close. And the fight may be in the balance with only a little more than 20 seconds left. Barkley with the jab, and that's his best punch right now because he's pushing the hook in the right hand. It'll end, and it will be a classic war. Big right hand by Duran. This has been extraordinary. But Barkley thinks he's the winner. So does this man, Roberto Duran.
I wouldn't want to be a judge in this fight, Al.
I wouldn't either. I would give the nod personally to Barkley. I thought he probably won more rounds, even with a 2 or 3 point round by Duran. But it would be a very, very close call. Whatever, you can see this man, Roberto Duran, is proud of his effort, and he should be.
And you know, Al, that knockdown is such a big, big point in this fight. It could make all the difference in the world.
It will depend greatly on whether that was a 2 or 3 point round. Again, the judges in this fight, Tommy Kazmarek from the U.S., from New Jersey here, Giuseppe Ferrari from Italy, and Dave Brown from Canada. Byron Barkley and Stan Hoffman from the Houston Boxing Association. You have to take your hat off to Barkley. Nothing comes easy to this man, and hey, you win the bet, buddy. They're hugging at the end, Bill.
Well, that's the way it goes, fellas. Fighters gain respect for each other during a fight. Believe me.
And if these two gentlemen didn't gain respect, no one ever will during a boxing match. Well, in truth, some denigrated this match. They felt it would be a mismatch for Barkley. Didn't turn out to be that way.
Well, I just did not believe that Roberto could do it.
You think they could fit anybody else in that ring? Early on, I ran Barkley, hurting Roberto Duran. Good left hand, and that was in the 8th round. And boy, oh boy, how could Duran come back from that? And yet, come back he did. Here's the 11th.
Now let's just watch the surgeon operate again. There's the first right hand. There's the left hook. There's the other right hand. And the final coup de grace.
Was that the moment that could have tilted it for Roberto Duran? It's the question we have to ask ourselves, and Michael Buffer's in that mess somewhere. I don't know if he has a decision. We're waiting to find out. We can get the decision from him. There is a problem with the microphone. All the people in the ring may have pulled it out. That's a first. Well, it may not be a first, but I haven't seen it. And so Michael Buffer looking for a new mic. Here it is.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
You're on, Michael. Now just
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Your attention, please. Can you hear that? Test. Ladies and Test.
So good, man. So good. Well, there's Iran Barkley. The drama building here because Michael Buffer can't seem to get his microphone working, or they can't get it working for him. Iran Barkley looking, he's got the damaged left eye. He looks for all the world like he absorbed big punishment, but he gave out a lot to Roberto Duran.
Well, you know, again, it's the question of the one guy working at 3 minutes, the other guy throwing beautiful combinations, taking advantage of every opportunity. Whether Duran gets this decision or not, he has gained my respect as one of the greatest fighters that ever lived. No question about it, and he may get the decision.
As well he should, and it's bound to be a close one any way you look at it. Probably a split decision. We're still waiting for Michael Buffer to be able to give us the decision. The ring is filled with people. A recap, Roberto Duran hurt in the 8th round, hurt in the 2nd, but coming back to knock Barkley down in the 11th and having a very big finish in the last 4 rounds.
You know, Al, we just sensed that he seemed stronger physically in those latter rounds than Iran Barkley. You could just see it in that ring.
Are you shocked that the latter part of the fight where Barkley and his people thought they would win, are you shocked that Duran was able to do that at the end?
No, there's no question about it. You know, the thing that got me, I said it may wind up being who was the better catcher, and I felt that Barkley was vulnerable to get nailed.
Well, and here's an example of what you're talking about. It's the 2 men show that mutual respect you talked about, Gil. Who could catch better? Duran caught first.
You get in the ring. There's that slip by Barkley, the big left hook, spun Duran around, but he just did not go down. He's such a sturdy little guy with those strong legs that he has.
But Barkley would go down.
There's the first right hand. There's the left hook. There's the right hand. And bam. That would put anybody down now.
I should think so.
Wasn't one punch. It was 4 clean punches all on the butt.
And Barkley got up and fought a fairly decent 12th round. But was it enough? We'll get it now. Here it comes, the decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a split decision. Dave Brown scores about 116 to 113 for Barkley.
Iran Barkley, 116-113.
Giuseppe Ferrari scores it 118-112 for Duran.
What a big disparity.
Wow.
Tommy Kazmarek scores it 116 to 112 for the winner. And
that tells you who's champion. A wild discrepancy on the scorecard. 118-112 for Duran is shocking, as is 116-112 for Duran.
Well, apparently they were captured by Duran's ring generalship, the fact that he threw those flashy little combinations, and they forgot about Barkley's work ethic.
Well, it is a split decision win for Roberto Duran. He's won his 4th world title. Let's go up to Tony Hernandez. He has both fighters.
Roberto Duran, the new World Boxing Council middleweight champion. Your name, sir?
My name is Louis the Cubas.
Okay, Louis is our interpreter. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
He was in trouble in the 7th and 8th, real bad. How was he able to come back? Ask him.
Roberto, él dice que en el 7 y el 8 parece que estabas lastimado. ¿Cómo pudiste regresar?
Él me metió una trompa, pero no me hizo mucho daño porque yo estaba en muy buenas condiciones.
He said he hit him in the 7th and 8th with really good shots, but he really wasn't hurt because he's in terrific shape.
Roberto, tell Roberto to wait here. Iran Barkley. Iran, it was a great fight, Iran. Your left hook was very effective. What happened in the last part of the fight that got you in trouble?
Well, I felt I was winning the fight.
Roberto is a legend, you know, so quite naturally I could figure that they do that. But it was a good fight, you know, and the best man won. That's the way the judges called it. That's the way they see it. I got to take my hat off to the man. He's a good man.
Strong, very strong for me. Too heavy.
You guys like each other after all.
Hey, you know, he's a tough man, you know. You got to like, you know.
You're seeing this, ladies and gentlemen, embraced by Roberto Duran and Iran Barkley. Roberto, Luis, Roberto, what is next? Is he going to keep fighting now that he has the title? Does he want Leonard again?
¿Qué es lo próximo? ¿Quién es a Sugar Ray Leonard?
Cuando yo pelee con Sugar Ray Leonard, si Dios quiere, yo voy a estar en mejores condiciones porque tenía tiempo que no peleaba.
He says next time he fights Sugar Ray Leonard, he's going to be in a lot better shape in this fight because he's had a long time layoff, and he wasn't yet up to key. He's going to be for key for Leonard. He's going to be right.
Roberto, su corazón es increíble. ¿De dónde viene su deseo?
Panama City, Republic of Panama. I love you, Panama. I like you, Miami. I like you, United States.
Luis, he says, of course, that his desire, his heart, comes from his homeland of Panama City.
That's right.
One of the great fighters of all time, ladies and gentlemen. One of the great warriors. The new WBC middleweight champion, Roberto Duran, in a classic evening of boxing here in Atlantic City. Al, back to you.
Well, Roberto Duran wins his 4th world title. Iran Barkley, very gracious in defeat, perhaps more gracious than I would expect, Gil, with the scoring being 118, 112, 116, 112 against him when one judge had it 116, 113 for Barkley. And of course, it was the knockdown really that probably turned the tide.
You know, we always say that they're supposed to score every round and put it in the bank.
Yeah.
But you got to finish strong, and did Duran finish strong? I mean, that was just such a beautiful knockdown. Al, I think that was a 3-point round.
Probably was, and that is probably what turned that fight so dramatically in the scoring for Roberto Duran. He wins the 4th title, honestly, coming into tonight. Did you think he could do it?
We saw a miracle tonight, Al.
It really was.
It was a miracle. I mean, he fought a well-conditioned, big, strong guy that worked 3 minutes of every round. You figure a 37-year-old guy, how could he keep up that pace? And Barkley kept banging to the body, banging to the body. And you know the old saying in boxing, bang to the body, the head will die. Nothing on Roberto Duran died, especially his heart.
And when
the 3 judges at ringside scoring each round on a 10-point must system are Gerry from Nevada, Eugene Grant from New Jersey, and Tommy Kazmarek from New Jersey. And the referee for this bout, working in a world title event for the 45th time from the state of New Jersey, is Rudy Battle. And ladies and gentlemen, at this time, 2 very special introductions. 2 former heavyweight champions who faced each other 20 years ago in the battle of undefeated champions. They fought a total of 3 times, culminating with one of the greatest heavyweight matches, the Thriller in Manila. First of all, let me introduce to you from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's the former heavyweight champion who always brought one of the most devastating left hooks in boxing history into the ring. Ladies and gentlemen, Smoking Joe Frazier.
What a superb fighter he was. Superb value. And what an era that was.
3 times in those 3 great bouts. In 1960, he was a gold medal champion in the Olympics. 1964, he won the heavyweight title. In 1974, he won it for a 2nd time. And then he became the only man in heavyweight history to win the heavyweight championship 3 times. Ladies and gentlemen, 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali!
The greatest, and I'm not arguing. Oh, that's a lovely moment. Ali and Foreman back together again. Shades of 74 and all that.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Donald Trump's Trump Plaza Hotel Casino here on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey, let's get ready to rumble! It's the battle of the ages. 12 rounds of boxing for the heavyweight championship of the world. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the white trunks and weighing in at an official weight of 257 pounds. This 1968 Olympic gold medal champion won the heavyweight title in 1973. After a 10-year hiatus, he returned to the ring in 1987, and since then his record has been a perfect 24-0 with 23 KOs. His career record as a professional, 69 victories, 65 KOs, only 2 defeats. 56 of these KOs have come in 4 rounds or less, and he's considered by most experts to be the most devastating puncher in heavyweight history. From Houston, Texas, ladies and gentlemen, the challenger and former heavyweight champion of the world,
get to their feet. The support for Foreman here is absolutely massive. This 19,000 crowd want him to win. They want him to take the title back.
And his opponent in the blue corner, wearing the white multi-color trim, weighed in at an even 208 pounds. He's a member of America's greatest Olympic boxing team, the class of '84. He won a bronze medal that year, and he was the first of that great squad to win a world title as a professional. In only his 12th professional bout, he became a cruiserweight champion. And he is now, in boxing history, the only titleist from that division to step up to the heavyweights and capture that crown also. His overall record as a professional is 25-0, with 21 KOs. More than half of his KO victories have been in 4 rounds or less, and not one heavyweight opponent has made it to the final bell. And for the last 5 years, he's knocked out every opponent he has faced. From Atlanta, Georgia, ladies and gentlemen, presenting the undisputed, undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, the real deal, Evander.
And among the fans for Holyfield, his old Olympic teammates, Mark Breland, Parnell Whitaker and Meldrick Taylor sitting right in front of me here. Final instructions coming up from referee Rudy Battle.
A clean break at all times. Good luck to both of you. Let's touch gloves.
Well, one of the biggest build-ups for any world heavyweight title fight in history is over. Is Foreman about to do something which, well, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you'd have said was quite beyond belief? Come back to regain the title 17 years on. 12 rounds for the heavyweight title. Look how relaxed Foreman is. He's leaning against the ropes. You'd think he was going for a Sunday afternoon stroll. What is going to happen? The fight strategy will be crucial as well. Holyfield just poking out that exploratory jab early on and going to the body. Foreman with this massive punch. Holyfield knows he just can't make one mistake with this fellow, because he can put you into dreamland. Holyfield looking to keep on the outside. Poking out his jab, trying to break Foreman up systematically. That would seem to be the plan, judging from what we've seen in the opening 30 seconds or so. Colin.
Yeah, all Holyfield's got to do is keep moving around, tiring out the old man, and when it suits him, go in and finish him off. That should be the plan. But, as you said, Ian, one silly mistake, and you'll be looking up at this wonderful dome ceiling.
Holyfield, superbly conditioned, no nonsense heavyweight, winner of all 7 of his world title fights at cruiser and heavy. And he stopped his last 13, so maybe his punch power is a little underestimated. Foreman hasn't let go yet with any of those big bombs. He's got a ramrod jab as well, Foreman. Holyfield outworking Foreman in the early stages. His greater speed and physical conditioning showing. Foreman was shaken up a little by Ken LaCusta, and by Gerry Cooney before winning those fights. Holyfield scoring well with his jab.
Yeah, Foreman's eating that left jab. And of course, he's very, very ponderous. And when he throws those big bombs, you can see them coming a mile away.
Holyfield slipping Foreman's jab, having the better of this opening round. But of course, Foreman can negate all of that with one jackpot punch. Everybody knows it. Everybody's waiting to see what happens if and when Foreman connects. Not that time. Holyfield well in control in this opening round. End of the first round, Holyfield's round, no doubt about it, as he goes back to his corner. And Foreman looks just a little more thoughtful as he goes back to his. Join us again in a moment.
Let's talk about you.
Welcome back to Atlantic City. You haven't missed a thing. George Foreman didn't even sit down between the rounds. Maybe just trying to score a psychological point. Evander Holyfield, having taken the first round, no doubt about it, on all these scorecards, jabbing away, keeping his range, and slipping anything Foreman did manage to throw. There's a collar check if you need it. Oh, good right from Holyfield. Good hand speed from him. Foreman feinting to show the right again, eating Holyfield's jab. Holyfield will look to systematically dismantle the old champion. Make the years tell. The 1973 version of Foreman weighed 3 stone less and was 10 inches thin around the waist. Land to the body. Holyfield seemed to think that was low. Keep them up, says referee Rudy Battle.
Well, of course, you can see how slow and ponderous Foreman is by the way he tried to land a big right hand. Miles too late with it.
Holyfield feinting well and throwing the right. And at the moment, Foreman not landing with very much of any consequence. Holyfield's speed on the outside, just proving too much for Foreman.
Well, what we've seen so far, I want to think Holyfield has had harder workouts in the gym.
Never been any suggestion with Holyfield that he's got a weak chin or anything like that, far from it. Foreman now starting to let go with his jab, and listen to the crowd get behind him as he lands with a few for the first time, really. 3 or 4 jabs, and looking to let go with the big right as well. Foreman blows a little harder. Now he's starting to find the range. Holyfield has never had the reputation of being particularly elusive. You can hit him. Foreman just beginning to slip into some kind of gear in the last minute or so of round 2.
Yeah, it's still slow gear though.
Now he's starting to throw heavier punches, and a slightly more anxious look just spread across Holyfield's face as he felt the weight of those. Holyfield looking a little bit open. He's eating that jab a bit too much, Holyfield. Lefts from both of them after the bell. Foreman goes back to the corner. The crowd get on their feet, and they get on their feet because they like what they saw from Foreman in the last minute of the round. Colin.
Yeah, I mean, he's flattering to deceive. I mean, he's throwing punches and a few landed, and they're getting everybody excited. but they don't seem to have done much damage. But if Holyfield decides he wants to have a slug it out with him, that would be stupid, and I can't believe that he will.
Now there's Foreman getting in that jab, and that really rocked Holyfield's head back on his shoulders. Then that left really land cleanly, and you saw that slightly worried look just spread across Holyfield's face. I think any punch you have to take from Foreman with those massive arms of his like tree trunks, certainly going to feel it. It was always a great jab, Foreman's, one of the best. Third round coming up. Some people thought it might not go this far. Holyfield with grease all over the face. Starts fast in round 3. Holyfield, the champion who came up the hard way, pumping gas for $5 an hour into aeroplanes at Atlanta Airport, working as a lifeguard, and tonight on $20 million. Good right that from Holyfield. As Foreman was lining up the jab. But Holyfield showing a tendency that he's prepared to mix it more and stand with trade with Foreman, and that may not be such a smart idea. Not this early, anyway.
Yeah, but Foreman hasn't caught him with any clean punches.
Foreman. That made Holyfield take 2 steps back. Foreman has a very composed look on his face. Carries the air of a man who knows what he's about. Holyfield 14 stone 12, Foreman 18 stone 5. It's a massive gap in weight. But of course Holyfield is so much faster. It's in the left of the body this time. The question of course against Foreman is if this goes any kind of distance, how will he be able to last? Most people who thought Foreman might win felt he had to do the job in the first 3 rounds. We're coming up with 38 seconds to go in round 3.
Some puffiness under Foreman's eyes now. The effects of those Holyfield jabs. I mean, he's within feet of Holyfield with his punches.
He's got him going. He's got him going here. And Foreman looks disorganized and open. A whole lot of punches going in here. And Foreman in some trouble. In the 3rd round, Holyfield is finding gaps and another right at the end of the round. Foreman goes back to the corner. It was a bad round for the old champion, who still refuses to sit down, or does he this time? Angelo Dundee there. The man who was in the other corner that night in Zaire all those years ago. Well, we think there may be something going on at the back of the arena. Is some kind of fire broken out? It looks like people are walking out. I don't know what all that is about. Meanwhile, in the ring, it was plenty hot enough for Foreman in this round. I thought for a moment that Holyfield was going to end it there and then.
Well, you could see that's the difference between the young man and the old man. Poor old Foreman couldn't get out the way. Taking all the shots that Holyfield wanted to throw at him.
Well, there is smoke in this arena now, in the back of the arena. Now, we have a drama outside the ring going on. Whether this is just a smoke bomb somebody's let off, if they have, it's not a very clever joke. If it's a fire, people may have to be evacuated. Foreman starting off in round 4, meanwhile, throwing jabs. We're trying to keep our eye on both things at once at the moment. Just a little smear of blood on the forehead of George Foreman. suspicion grows that if Foreman's going to find that one explosive punch to sensationally grab the title, he'll have to do it quick, because Holyfield was starting to take him apart in round 3. We're told that this is simply a smoke bomb that somebody's let off under the stands, beginning to get into my voice.
Well, as long as it doesn't start getting into the fighter's eyes. It's drifting towards the ring. Hopefully it won't reach the ring and affect the fighters.
And it must be obscuring the view of people who've paid something like $500 for a ticket as well in that part of the arena. Meanwhile, back in the ring, Foreman pumping out that jab. It must be so hard. It doesn't matter how hard he's worked for the fight. He is, remember, 42 years old. And this is a hard enough game for young men. Foreman looking a little bit more tired. Holyfield keeps up the pressure.
Foreman reminds me of an old battleship who's had great victories in war, but now sliding slowly towards the scrapyard.
Yes, he's up against a high-tech young warrior as well, isn't he, to continue your analogy?
Keep him up in there, keep him up. Nice and clean. All right, break out.
Foreman is up against Holyfield. Holyfield, a man who uses all kinds of modern training techniques, even as his own ballet teacher, for balance and movement. Oh, good punches again from Holyfield, the champion. Putting the punches together well in combinations there to the head. Holyfield having it much his own way at the moment. And one hopes that this doesn't degenerate into too sad a spectacle.
Put him loose. Let him go. Come on.
Foreman just breathes a little heavy. Holyfield with a confident air again. Let's go with the combinations to the head. It looks bad for old George in there at the moment. Then the left hook to the body. How much more has George Foreman got left? Bell goes to end the round.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Ian, I'm not enjoying this anymore. As I said, the joke's over. You know, he's not going to win. There was always the hope that maybe in the first couple of rounds he might get very lucky, or Holyfield got very unlucky. But now it's just a question of how much they're going to allow Holyfield to beat up on poor old George.
I suppose, in theory, he could still produce that punch, though. He could still, maybe, just turn everything around with one punch. There is always that possibility with Foreman here. Now, let's have a look. This is typical piece of Holyfield work. The right to the head. Didn't he feint well? He disguised the punch very well. And Foreman took it flush. Holyfield going about his work very impressively here. And the left hook as well. Smoke beginning to clear from that smoke bomb. Out they come for the 5th round. And so far, Holyfield, I would think on most scorecards, is 1 or 4. Holyfield disguising the right well, and he almost got through with it again that time. Foreman just got his arms up in that crisscross defense he likes to use, a la Archie Moore, his trainer, but it hasn't stopped too many from Holyfield. His hand speed's good, you see. Holyfield, faster than most heavyweights.
And of course, to make it look even faster against Foreman. Again, he's been warned to hitting low. I don't think he intends it.
No point deducted yet. 5th round. Good body shot that was from Foreman. Left hook just underneath Holyfield's ribs, but Holyfield took it and just gets back to work again. Former world cruiserweight champion Holyfield, who won this title, of course, against Buster Douglas. now beginning to just measure him for size with the jab. He's looking to get the right in as well. Holyfield takes a little break, but he hasn't taken many breaks. Oh, doubling up on the jab. That's good from Holyfield. Technically very good. Down the left hook as well. Right to the body. Excellent variety. And that breaks up Foreman's defense. Foreman is trying. He has lasted into the 5th round, but at the moment he's just finding this age gap too big to bridge. Foreman looking for a big humdinging right. Holyfield will be glad he didn't take that one. He did take that little left though, and Holyfield for a moment just wants to hold on. He felt the weight of that one.
Possibly. I mean, you'll get your attention if he hits you.
Now look at this from Foreman now. This may not be all over. Holyfield just taking a break a little in this round, and Foreman encouraged by that. Holyfield, has to be said though, Foreman did land with some pretty good punches, and Holyfield took them well.
You've got to hand it to the old gentleman. He's hanging in there. He's still trying, and he's still trying to land the knockout punch. And of course, one must say that with this fight going into the 6th round, it's been a remarkable performance by George.
Those punches take their toll on him.
He's trained very, very hard indeed. I think that was his best round yet, and no question about it, that fifth.
Absolutely. And of course, he still hasn't sat down in his corner.
Here we are, good combinations from Foreman, and Holyfield having to take a few there. As we said before, sometimes he does go through little periods like that in the fight where he doesn't look so impressive, Holyfield. He seemed to kind of mentally relax and take a break for a minute, and Foreman came on quite strong. Foreman has not yet sat down between the rounds. The punching preacher from Humboldt, Texas, against Evander, the real deal Holyfield. 6th round of the World Heavyweight title fight. Foreman showing signs in that 5th round that the argument isn't quite over yet. Holyfield lifts himself again. Oh, good right from him. Holyfield isn't a one-punch knockout man, but the cumulative effect of his punches do tend to take their toll in the end, but Foreman coming back and giving as good as he's getting.
I tell you, he's taken some tremendous shots, Foreman, but he has not buckled.
Holyfield has landed with some jarring rights throughout the contest, covering up well there. Foreman comes forward, looks to open up Holyfield with the jab.
It's going to be interesting to see whether Holyfield goes tired by punching himself out. I think he must be surprised that the old fella's still in there with him.
Well, he seems to have been rejuvenated a bit over the last 3 minutes or so, Foreman.
He's taking plenty of stick in this round, though.
Foreman so strong when they do get to work inside. That hasn't been often. He can pull people around inside. Those huge arms of his. Holyfield's thrown a lot of punches. So far, Foreman is still there in front of him. And just staging occasional little rallies of his own. Holyfield bouncing around. Lateral movement from him. Just really want to stand directly in front of Foreman. Keep on the move and keep throwing his combinations. That's good from Foreman. Left hook. Holyfield does get the gloves up well. Oh, Foreman coming forward with two good jarring left jabs. And what a fight he's putting up here. He's come in here and he's giving value for money, at least, is Foreman. This is no repeat of the very sad spectacle at the end of Muhammad Ali's career when he was it took a terrible, terrible beating, which was awful to watch from Larry Holmes. It's not like that, is it?
No, I said that we may be seeing a farce or an embarrassment, and it's neither of those things. All the time Foreman is there, you can't help feeling that one of those booming punches, if it lands on Hollywood's chin, he could win the fight.
There's the punches thrown through the first 6 rounds. Holyfield landing with 158, Foreman with 100. Percentage better, of course, for Holyfield than Foreman, but those statistics can lie, but I don't think in this case they do. Holyfield is ahead, but Foreman has had his best 2 rounds in the last 2.
Right, and of course, Holyfield is in a no-win situation. He'll be criticised. He's bound to be criticised tomorrow for not finishing an old man like Foreman in quick time.
Not over yet. Into the second half of the contest, round 7. Very few people thought this would go this far. Oh, he's got him with a right there, Foreman. And Holyfield's legs splayed a little. Whether he was off balance, I don't know. Foreman still looks pretty strong. This time he's looking for that devastating uppercut inside. Holyfield having to take these now. Holyfield, I think he was shaken up by that punch, and he's covering up. Punches starting. Holmes got a good chin. Holyfield, back he comes with his own left hook, but bad moments for the champion at the start of round 7. Can Foreman do it?
Well, this is quite remarkable because Holyfield is now standing still. He's been reduced to the same speed as Foreman, and his mouth is definitely dropping open.
Look for the way Holyfield comes back. Oh, he's letting the hooks go, and Foreman is in terrible trouble now. He's tottering, he might go here. Oh, he had to take a dozen really meaty hooks from Holyfield, and Foreman did very, very well to stay on his feet there. But that will have taken a lot out of him, that assault.
It's also taken a lot out of Holyfield.
Could have punched himself out. But what a round this is. Foreman started it real strong. What a comeback from Evander Holyfield. The right uppercut, twice landed inside. Holyfield is breathing heavier, looking more marked around the face now. And this now is developing into a very good scrap. Minute to go in round 7. Thinking in about the 4th and 5th that it was all getting to be something of a formality for Holyfield. That is not the way of it anymore. Very discouraging for Holyfield to launch that assault he did earlier in the round, and Foreman still to be standing and still to come back at him.
Absolutely. There's nothing more disheartening for a fighter to hit a man with your best shots and not move him.
It's a tribute really to the conditioning that Foreman must have done for this fight.
Well, he's also done a lot for us fatties.
Well, he says that he wants to prove that 40 is not a death sentence. Few of us never thought it was anyway, but what a round that was. That 7th round. Foreman coming through a terrible patch in the middle of it when he seemed ready to go, and coming back very well indeed at Holyfield. And they're just working around the swellings around the eye. Nothing too serious. Now let's look at some action of that 7th round. First of all, let's look at Foreman, who started the round very quickly indeed. And Holyfield just stood in front of him at this stage. And look at Foreman starting to let the punches go at this stage, and I thought Holyfield was just in a bit of bother at this stage. The jab, the clubbing right, but back came Holyfield, and just watch the intensity of this assault. Those hooks to the body to try and bring the gloves down. Not all of those landed, to be fair to Foreman. That did. So did that. Then that body shot. This is from another angle, and the left hook to the head. 8th round.
You know, it's quite remarkable here. He still hasn't sat on his stool.
George Foreman, the 42-year-old grandfather, the preacher from Texas, is still there in round 8. Holyfield looking to break him up, switching the attacks to head and body, trying to find a way through that fairly effective defensive shield of the old champ. Jab studding in, and then the right to the head. They all landed from Holyfield.
I hope Lennox Lewis is somewhere watching the way to throw the jab. Doubling it up beautifully, Holyfield. Lennox has got an excellent jab, but he just throws it one at a time. He learns to do what Holyfield's doing. He'll be a far more effective fighter.
Holyfield working confidently behind his jab in this round. Just fighting in spurts a little bit, Holyfield. Just taken the odd minute off here and there. And that sometimes has let Foreman back into the fight. Foreman has shown incredible resilience. Well, people derided this fight beforehand, not without justification, as being something of a farce, a curiosity, a circus act, but it's turning into a very interesting evening indeed here in Atlantic City.
And what a wonderful achievement if Foreman could go the distance.
Oh, what a great punch from Holyfield. Disguised that so well. And again the right and the left hook. Foreman, surely not even a man as strong and ox-like as him can carry on taking those. Holyfield's round so far, last few seconds. Chance of walk away to Holyfield in the last few seconds of the round.
Well, did you notice how Holyfield walked back to his corner then? I've never seen him look so weary since the fight started. Now he's given everything. He's hit Foreman with every shot he's got. And the old fella still plodding towards him. It must be very disheartening for him, although he's, you know, on my card he's a mile ahead on points. But there's still quite some ways to go. And it would be totally unbelievable if he dropped from exhaustion before Foreman.
That could be a factor. Holyfield, we've seen it before in fights. The danger is that he may have punched himself out. Well, rather in the way that Foreman himself got punched out that night in Zaire.
Absolutely.
And Ali took him to the cleaners in the 8th round. This is the 9th. Quite astonishing that it's gone this far. Holyfield back to work with the jab. 1, 2, 3 into the face of Foreman right at the start of the round. Foreman is a long way behind on points, but the fascinating possibility still exists that his punch power may still have a say in this contest. Great jab, Foreman. And again. Holyfield holds on, bounces off those ropes. There are calls of get out of there from his corner. Worried that he'd get trapped in the corner and nailed by one of those big booming rights from George. Foreman, who ranks right up there among the biggest hitters in heavyweight history. 65 knockouts in 69 wins. Incredible. Holyfield launches forth again. Right to the head, left to the body. Crowd at the back of the hall starting to get excited. 19,000 in here. And they must be starting to think the money, there was a lot of it, was pretty well spent. Holyfield is a magnificently conditioned fighter, and he's needed that conditioning, and he will need it, I think.
Yeah, I think Holyfield must be wondering what he's going to do to put this man on the floor.
Holyfield showing superb defensive skills in that little interchange. Blocking punches with the gloves, slipping a couple of others, and then landing that right over the top. But he's a good fighter, this fellow.
You know, a lot of Holyfield punches are now one at a time. He doesn't throw, he's not throwing the combinations like he was a few rounds ago. That's because he's tired.
And he's not quite so light on his feet either, Holyfield.
One more time.
How much has Foreman got left? How much can he have left? Oh, he got him with a right. There a left. Foreman. He don't go down this time. Surely he can't stand up again from this assault. He gets the gloves up. Shows tremendous resilience. And you have to take your hat off to George Foreman. How is he doing this?
Well, you know.
Well, I don't know. But he still won't sit down in his corner. He's still standing there.
He's still standing up between the rounds, and now right at the end of this round, he took some big punches from Holyfield. Right, left, right. Foreman looked open. You thought here that at last Holyfield was going to get the job done, but no. Foreman got those big arms in the way. He held on, he clung on, and he still stood up between the rounds. Is this man made of metal or something?
Well, I know he's going to be the hero at the end of this one.
There's a little rumour going around at ringside that somebody said in the Foreman corner that this would be the last round they'd give him. Now, I don't know how true that is. We'll see. Maybe the corner are thinking that at his age, he's put up a brave and courageous effort and has done enough and has taken enough. Holyfield, like the consummate model pro he is, keeps on working. And you've got to say that it says a lot about his resilience too, because he's had to take one or two from Foreman. And I think the gloves just come, yeah, they're bandaging around the glove. They don't want that flapping around, so they're going to tie it down. Foreman will be glad of the rest. So will Holyfield.
Keep turning this guy, baby. Oh, no instruction.
Foreman is standing in that neutral corner while this is going on, looking quite unconcerned.
My goodness me, he must have worked for this fight.
tell you what, Ian, what an advert he is for cheeseburgers.
Two-ball jab again. I don't think he ate too many cheeseburgers for this one, Colin. Down the left hook again from Holyfield. Holyfield still working systematically to try and open up Foreman's crisscross defence by switching the attack downstairs and then upstairs to the head. Try to find gaps. Holyfield's just slowed in this round. Now he's only throwing just one punch at a time, as Colin picked up. On the right, there was a good left to the body, and there another left hook from Foreman. Holyfield mustn't get careless. He got caught with one himself. My goodness, he took that well. He came back with a good right to the head. Foreman could still be dangerous, and now Holyfield takes another combination and wants to hold on. Well, if they were planning to take Foreman out at the end of this round, they may be starting to have second thoughts about it. 10th round, and look at Holyfield there, just kind of falling around the ring on slightly less steady legs. Just looks a little more wooden in the legs, just an impression. Thrown so much, and Foreman just won't go. And Foreman looking for those lefts into the ribs, and they're making Holyfield breathe heavier.
Well, they're both near exhaustion by the look of them. They're beginning to wrestle now, which is always a sign that stamina is at an end.
It's got to the stage, really, where suddenly, a la Ben Eubank, one punch and one of them just might suddenly fall apart. But they have both looked so resilient throughout this. Right from Foreman, right at the end of it. Holyfield took it. Holyfield took it.
You know, the crowd all around us here, as you can see, just rising to their feet to applaud George Foreman.
Holyfield, and now there is the idea of one American expert at ringside. He gave Foreman rounds 2 and 3. I'm sure I agree with that, but the effect is 96-94, he reckons. That's a lot closer than I've got it, I must say, to Holyfield.
And a lot closer than I've got it too.
It's possibly being a little bit kind to George. But what a splendid performance he has put up. It doesn't matter what happens now. He's put up a great, great performance, George Foreman, tonight. For a man of 42, this is a superhuman effort. It's a miracle, really, that he's here. I mean, 18 years on. It's daft, really, isn't it, Bert?
Well, of course, some of our so-called experts were forecasting all kinds of dire and dreadful things that we were going to see. They haven't happened.
Foreman increasingly looking to the body shots. That looked low. Referee Rudy Battle has a word, and there's a point deducted.
Yes, quite rightly so. It was the third time. Third time he'd been cautioned in.
Yeah, Foreman, 1 point off. I don't think that'll make much difference, really, because I don't think it can be close on the scorecards. Well, I'd be surprised. You never know, though. Holyfield obeying instructions from his corner to try and keep on the move, keep the lateral movement going, find different angles, not stand in front of Foreman and become a sucker for one big punch that might give the payoff. The possibility arises here, beyond all expectations, that this might go to the judges' scorecards. Still, Foreman is coming forward. He blows now, though. He's looking more swollen around the face. Is he going to last home? But Holyfield is far from fresh as a daisy. On. Crowd boo. Big pro-Foreman crowd here. They want to see the fairy tale come true. has blossomed into one of the best world heavyweight title fights of recent years in its own peculiar way. Holyfield doing less and less. Haven't seen too many more of those fast combinations from him in the last couple of rounds. 33 seconds to go in the 11th. Then the jab. Foreman just showed signs as that landed of being a little unsteady. He's swollen around the face now, George. Another right just bounces off his chin. He's very marked up. And hold on again. Last few seconds of round 11. What about this now, Colin?
Well, the right side of Foreman's face is very badly swollen, but it looks like he's going to make it to the very end. And he still won't sit down. What can you say about this man? I'll tell you what, Ian, it wouldn't surprise me if George Foreman has yet another fight after this one. The people would want to see him against Tyson. I don't care what you say, they would love it.
It has been an amazing and incredible performance from Foreman, but it will have taken a lot out of him. It must have done. I mean, he is a human being.
Well, let's be fair about it. We were, forecasting all kinds of things for him. But he's proved us wrong. He's still there with the last round coming.
Have your hands up in the air.
3 minutes to go.
As far as I'm concerned, it's been a very one-sided fight. And Holyfield has won it easily.
Last round, look at Foreman's face. It's very, very swollen now. Last round. And Foreman, having taken so much and shown such resilience, and come back with good spells of his own in this fight. Miles behind, he needs the knockout. And of course, you don't need me to remind you that if any man can produce a knockout, it's Foreman. Holyfield pumps out his jab. He must know now that he's just got a last home. The corner will have told him that. He didn't need to be told it, I'm sure. I think if he's sensible, that would be his best policy too, to just get home now for the points decision, not try to mix it with Foreman.
What sort of a script would it be if you knocked Holyfield out in the last minute of the last round?
You never know. World heavyweight history is full of incredible stories, really. But this one, if Foreman did that in the last round, I think would top the lot. Foreman will take his $12.5 million back to his church and his youth center for the poor kids of Humble in Texas. And my goodness me, it's a mountainous purse, but how he's been made to earn it here.
And he deserves every last cent of it here.
Gargantuan effort from the old champion. I think now he looks himself as if he just wants to last the distance, and that would be a victory within a fight for Foreman. And I hope he can do it as Holyfield throws out 3 more. It would be terrible now, really, if Foreman was stopped this way.
Oh, that would be the ultimate cruelty if he didn't last to the final bell.
I don't think there's anybody outside Holyfield in this arena, and probably not even Holyfield, who'd begrudge 42-year-old George that.
You know, Holyfield's hugging Foreman. I don't know whether it's out of exhaustion or admiration.
Holyfield defending his world heavyweight title and has 14 seconds to go. Now it's 12. The bell can't save the fighter even in the last round. So, in theory, Foreman can still do it. The crowd are getting on their feet. Foreman holds on, hugs on. two fighters in mutual respect. That was an incredible performance from George Foreman to take all that and at 42 years and 99 days old to last 12 rounds against the best conditioned heavyweight of recent years in Evander Holyfield. I don't think there can be any doubt that Holyfield has retained the title, although we await confirmation from the three judges.
Well, I wouldn't have believed that possible, that Foreman could have gone 12 rounds. I didn't think he could go 12 rounds if nobody was hitting him. But to go 12 rounds, taking the shots he took. I mean, Holyfield is not a devastating puncher in the same way that a Tyson is, or a Rocky Marciano was. I mean, he hurts you when he hits you, but I mean, he hasn't got a reputation of being a tremendous hitter. But he did crack Foreman with non-stop hooks and uppercuts, and the old man took them all. Never once sat on his stall. Never once really looked as if he was going to get knocked out. He looked like he might have got stopped at some stage, but he never actually looked like he was going to be knocked clean out.
And remember, until this, Holyfield had stopped his last 13 opponents dating back to 86.
Yeah,
some good fighters in there.
Absolutely, and you've also got to remember that dear old George has only been stopped once in his life, and that was by Muhammad Ali.
Well, we reckon on the computer count out that Holyfield landed twice as many punches, or nearly anyway, and a greater percentage as well.
Of course, it's going to be interesting to see how they score it, but for my money, I mean, Holyfield was an overwhelming winner, but, you know, we've seen some strange scoring in this country, Ian.
We have, particularly in Las Vegas. Ask Marvin Hagler about it.
Oh, don't start that one again. I was quite happy with the result of that fight.
Oh, the Leonard one. Yeah, I agree with you about that, but we digress. Let's concentrate on this. They're working there with the iron there to sort out those swellings all around George's face.
Foreman certainly doesn't look distressed.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I give the official scoring, let's have a round of applause for these two heavyweights. 12 rounds of exciting action. Nobody thought they'd do it. And now from the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino here in Atlantic City, we go to the scorecards. Eugene Grant scores about 116 to 111. Tommy Kazmarek has it 115 to 112. And Gerry Roth scores it 117 to 100 for the winner by unanimous decision. And still, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, the real deal, Evander Holyfield.
Holyfield retains the title, and just to interpret, by 5 rounds on one scorecard, by only 3 rounds on the second, and by 7 rounds on the third, which I think was nearly right.
Yes, that's the score that seems the most consistent with what we saw. Well, George gave a pleasant little smile when he heard the result of that fight. I mean, he knew he'd lost it, but he must be a very proud man this evening.
And if anybody dares criticize Holyfield for not putting him away...
Oh, they will, don't worry about that.
I think that would be quite ridiculous, really. This guy really does look a very, very solid world heavyweight champion indeed, and he will take all the beating.
Yes, I think he's a lot better than people gave him credit for when he knocked out Buster Douglas. I mean, they kept on about him being too small. He's a big boy.
Does he beat Tyson?
He gives him a hell of a fight. I don't know yet whether he would beat him, but he would give Tyson all the trouble he could handle.
I think you can look forward to seeing that fight probably later this year, early next year. Mike Tyson due to be in action in a rematch with Razor Ruddock on June the 28th, incidentally.
I wonder what the odds are that George won't retire.
Well, it'll be interesting to hear what he says afterwards. He's made $12.5 million, and I think at that age, well, why would he carry on, really? There's not another title shot for him, is there?
No, but there's Tyson. There'll be a lot of people want to see that fight in this country.
Yeah, well, I hope he doesn't go on. I think that would be a splendid note to go out of.
I wouldn't like to see it go on, but I didn't really want to see him come back.
Well, let's hear the winner, the champion, still the champion, Evander the real deal.
Thank God for the victory, and
and thank everybody that's prayed. And, I'm fighting against a well-blessed man, George Foreman. He proved that, he's very tough. I'm glad I didn't take him for granted. I knew that the man was full of spirit just like I was. And it's a matter of, who wanted it the most. And I feel that, young age, by me being young, as I would just say, to put it out a little bit more.
What was the biggest reason you felt that you won this fight tonight, Evander?
Well, I feel that I scored more punches than George. And I boxed him. He was strong throughout the whole fight. And I feel that I hurt him a lot of time, and he was clever enough to get himself out of trouble when he was in trouble.
Were you sort of amazed at the way he recovered from some of those shots you hit him with? You hit him with 4 or 5, 6 shots at a time, and he never went down.
Well, not a point of amaze. George is a determined fighter. I feel that I have to earn a knockout. The man showed that he wasn't going to take anything lightly, and I put it out, and he was able to take it, and that proved that he wasn't old man. He had that desire to win.
Now, you stuck to your game plan beautifully that Lou Duva and Georgie Benton laid out for you. Lou, were you happy with the way he executed his game plan tonight?
Oh, absolutely, Joe. I mean, we weren't looking for a knockout. I said that right at the outset. We're looking to win the fight any way we can win it. If we got to go 12 rounds, we're going to go 12 rounds. He's capable of boxing. That's all we were concerned about. We told him if he sees a shot, take it. But outside of that, keep boxing, snap that jab, and keep turning him, and let the guy waste himself. And that's exactly what he did.
It seemed like George couldn't get off. It looked like when he had his arms crossed, he couldn't counter punch. And when he did decide to punch, you were too far away from him to do anything.
Well, I tried to confuse him. At times he had me confused. George a lot quicker than people might think. He had a good jab, and he'd throw punches from unusual boxing stance. So he'd throw that uppercut and that kind of round off right, and it kind of kept me paused a while. Well, I knew that if I could knock him out, I had to stick to my game plan by using the jab, getting in there, making him spend a lot of energy.
Was he as powerful as people make him out to be? Rate his power for us.
Well, definitely, George can hit. He never cleanly hit me with a good shot on the chin, but it showed that he had enough power when he hit me to knock me off balance.
Do you think that George should continue in this game, or do you think this should be his last fight, Evander?
Well, I think that's up to George. George got enough power and a lot more finesse. A lot of people take George for granted. He got a lot of boxing skills, and he's strong, and I think he's very competitive. It's all up to George. I think George fought his heart out. He showed me more, not than I expect, but I wasn't looking for George to be so determined and in such good shape. He was like in a fight throughout the whole. He was in a fight.
Let's talk about business here, Lou. What's next for Evander? What would you like to see him do?
Well, we have 2 guys ahead of us. We had Foreman and we had Don King. We'd love to fight Mike Tyson, but we can't fight Mike Tyson as long as King is there. We're ready to fight Mike Tyson starting Monday. We're ready to sit down and negotiate. If he don't want it, we'll go number 2, we'll go number 3, we'll go right down the line, but we're going to fight somebody. If it's Mike Tyson, fine. If not, we'll go to the next guy.
All right, Lou, it was a great fight, a great victory for your camp. And Evander, you proved tonight that you are and deserve to be the undisputed heavyweight champ of the world. Thank you.
That's Evander Holyfield.
You look at the Garden crowd here, cheering on Gerry Cooney. There is Don King, of course, one of the biggest and most powerful promoters here, and another onlooker who is ringside. We'll try to get a shot of him as time goes on. Many celebrities ringside here, but Joe DiMaggio was introduced to the crowd moments ago and drew the kind of applause that the Clipper always does draw here in the city of New York. He is still an idol, even some 20 years almost after his retirement, 30 years I should say, after his retirement from the game of baseball. So Ken Norton and Gerry Cooney just about to have at each other in this showdown fight. It is absolutely, even though I admit to it being a cliche, a must fight for Ken Norton, for Gerry Cooney. It is a fight he has to have if he wants a title shot. And that, of course, would be the next logical step for him. To the ring announcer now, and Jack Leach, the introduction to the fighters.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Madison Square Garden, the world's #1 sports and entertainment center, for tonight's 10-round heavyweight main event, sanctioned and supervised by the New York State Athletic Commission, Jack Prenderville, chairman. Your judges for the main event, Harold Letterman and Tony Castellano. The timekeeper is Fred Abatello. Counting for the knockdowns at the bell is Johnny Lobianco. And your referee... Perez. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the principals in tonight's 10-round heavyweight main event. In the corner, to my left, he hails from Los Angeles, California. He wears dark blue trunks trimmed in white. He weighs 225 pounds. Here is the former WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Ken Norton. His opponent in the corner to my right, undefeated in 24 professional fights with 21 knockouts. He hails from Huntington, New York, 225.25 pounds. He's decked out in all green with white and red stripes. Gentleman, Gerry Cooney. 10 rounds, final contest of the evening.
Most important thing, my command break. Stop pushing and stop back. If you score a knockdown, I want you to go to the farthest neutral corner, stay there until I tell you to come out. Right? 3 knockdowns in 1 round will end the fight. Now 40 seconds. The bell will not save anybody from being knocked out, all right? If a fight is on the floor, please don't come in. That calls for disqualification. I hate to do that. So stay away. Wait till the fighter gets up, then you can help him, all right? Any questions? Shake hands. Good luck to both of you.
Well, Ray Norton in his introduction borrowing a little something from the Sugar Ray Leonard playbook and doing a little dance and a series of jabs as you look at the tail of the tape. Norton, 11 years the senior of Gerry Cooney, 6'6" to 6'3", big height advantage. The weight is just about comparable. So is the reach and all the other measurements. Round 1 underway. Norton on the right, Cooney on the left. The tactics of Ken Norton in the early rounds will be interesting to say the least. Whether he decides to pace himself, whether he decides to go after the #1 challenger. 10 rounds, 3 knockdown rule is in effect. The bell cannot save either man. A right hand buckled the knees of Norton by Gerry Cooney. First punch of the fight buckled Norton's knees. Left hand to the stomach, and another right hand to the side of the head of Norton, who stands on the ropes. Left hand to the heart by Cooney. Norton bangs away now at Cooney in Norton's corner. And another left hand scores it again. The legs of Norton wobble. Norton is hurt in his own corner. Cooney trying to measure him. Misses 2 uppercuts, but scores with combinations of left hands. Norton straight up. Norton is about to drop. Norton is on his knees and finally slumps in the corner. He is not going to get up from this. The fight is over in 54 seconds. And if there was ever any doubt as to the punching power of Gerry Cooney, Ray Leonard, I think that doubt was put to bed right here.
Right. Cooney went out and did pretty much what I expected, but that was very dangerous when he was able to deliver 5, 6 blows, and the referee just stood there. I think the referee should have stopped the fight a lot sooner.
Norton was almost in a position where he was unable to fall down. He was kind of in a lodged position in his own corner. His knees never did touch, and so Cooney, of course, doing the right thing by just continuing to punch, but I think you make a very good point in that Tony Perez may have considered stepping in a little bit sooner than he did. Norton was out on his feet. Norton is still on the floor in his own corner. The first punch that hurt was the first punch of the fight, and it was a right hand that caught Ken Norton right on the side of the head.
Well, I was going to make a comment earlier about Gerry Cooney not having his perspiration on his body, that he had not warmed up. But as we can see, he didn't need to warm up because he possessed so much strength, and I'm pretty sure this is going to silence a lot of the critics that Cooney has one hand.
Well, I don't think there was any question about it. Right from the start of the fight, Cooney hurt Norton with the first punch. Now, I don't know, you may have to go back and you say, was Norton really prepared for this fight? Because the first punch of the fight buckled his knees.
Well, I'm quite sure Ken Norton was prepared for the fight. In fact, he's been in the ring with some of the all-time greats, and he knows what happens when you get into the ring unprepared. Ken Norton was in tip-top shape, and I'm quite sure he will give Cooney credit.
Now, you and I have had a chance to watch some of the great heavyweights. We've watched Larry Holmes together. Just off the top of your head, how would you compare Gerry Cooney right now with a Larry Holmes?
Well, Larry Holmes still has so much more physical attributes. Holmes can move, Holmes can punch, Holmes has a good jab. Whereas that, we really, I think, be very curious to see what Gerry Cooney can do with a guy that is mobile and really a good technician like Larry Holmes.
Well, of course, tonight is a great indication of the punching power of Gerry Cooney. There's no question about that. As far as stamina, how far he can go, what he would do against a champion like Larry Holmes, that still remains to be seen.
That's true, but what he exemplified tonight, I'm quite sure he's in the back of a lot of people's minds.
Right now, they have brought a stretcher into the ring to deal with Ken Norton, who is just now getting to his feet. There's no question that Ken Norton was literally out on his feet. We will try to get a report and give you a medical report on Ken Norton just as soon as that becomes available.
The punches that was delivered by Cooney and the leverage and balance that he had with him, I'm quite sure, I can almost say a guarantee that Norton, God forbid, has a concussion.
I think you can see that Ken Norton is conscious. He is sitting on his stool now. Commotion reigning all over the ring. More people in the ring, I think, than in the house here at Madison Square Garden. Gerry Cooney acknowledging some of the photographers standing up at the ringside. Acknowledging the crowd. He was unquestionably the crowd favorite. I think everybody, just looking at the people around here, Ray, everybody has kind of a shocked expression on their face that the thing ended as quickly as it did.
Someone to go.
We're up in the ring now.
Gerry,
How
early in that round did you hurt him?
Well, I hit him with a straight right hand. And I saw him back up on the ropes. So Victor told me to be cautious at all times. And if I see my openings to go in and work as planned. Victor was training for I don't know how long up in the Concord and New York here training, and told me the right thing.
Do you feel in some way, Gerry, that the quickness of this fight, excuse me, robs you in some way? That people will say that Ken Norton just couldn't fight anymore?
Doesn't matter to me anymore. I have my people here, my fans. We train hard. Mike Jones, Dennis Rappaport, Victor Valley, and myself. We just love him, that's all.
All right, what is next? Is Mike Weaver next for the WBA championship?
Look to my managers, Mike Jones and Dennis Rappaport and Victor
All right,
Valley.
Mike Jones here is nodding and saying that Mike Weaver will be your next opponent for the heavyweight championship. Would you explain to our audience why Mike Weaver instead of Larry Holmes?
Well, since I turned professional, I just do the fighting. My managers do the managing. My man here, Victor, gets me in shape. I just leave it that way.
Well, they must be doing a perfect job so far. Dennis Rappaport, would you tell us why is he fighting Mike Weaver instead of Larry Holmes?
We really didn't have a choice. Our first preference would have been Holmes. Holmes has refused to fight Cooney, in spite of what he said to the media, where he verbalizes one thing, but in fact, to the truth, when it came time to sign a contract, he refused to, they never signed. King was supposed to get back to us 3 months ago. Me and Mike called him several times, never got back to us. After a meeting where we were supposed to sign a contract.
Are you concerned that the critics will say, well, he's beaten another fighter of the 70s, he's now going a total of about 4 or 5 rounds with fighters in the 70s, but he hasn't fought a good young fighter yet?
Larry, if at the end of Gerry's career, he never goes more than 2 rounds, thank the Lord, and we'll be very happy. It'll prove that he's the greatest fighter of all time. Let the cynics ask the same questions when he's heavyweight champion of the world, because that's his destiny, the championship of the world.
Thank you very much. I'll be back in a few moments. I'm going to try to reach Ken Norton. Back to ringside.
All right, thank you very much, Larry Merchant. Larry is now working his way through some of the crowd to try to get to Ken Norton's corner. We will try to have a report just on what kind of condition Norton is in. If it is at all possible, we will try to get an interview with the loser. We right now are going to have an opportunity to look at the entire, when I say entire, I mean 54 seconds of this fight. There was just never a doubt about the outcome of the fight from the first punch that was thrown by Gerry Cooney, which was a right-hand lead. You heard him talk to Larry Merchant about it as it being a straight right hand. When it happened, I believe we said that the knees of Ken Norton buckled. And now let's take one more look. Ray Leonard, we're going to get a chance to see from the beginning of this fight right to the end of it, 54 seconds long. They started in the center of the ring, and you can see Norton really not going to that peekaboo kind of defense in the early round.
Well, Norton tried to see whether or not his left jab can do any damage to Cooney. And this is a very fast pace, especially for heavyweights.
Now the right hand from Cooney will come right there. The right hand, and you see the knees of Norton buckle just that quick. Great shot.
Well, Cooney possessed so much strength, so much power in his left hand and his right hand, as we see. And here he's just taking control of Ken Norton completely.
Now, right at that juncture, I think you saw that Ken Norton was a beaten man. He did all he could just to get off the ropes. But again, just a stinging left hand to the face right there. Now Cooney turns Norton around, and once he does that, he misses those 2 uppercuts. I think it was the last punch he missed.
Well, Barry, here we see a lot of punches being thrown, and right here, I think the referee should have jumped in. Look at the punches that are being thrown and landed.
Just a brutal beating in a very short space of time, administered by Gerry Cooney to the former champion Ken Norton. Ray, we're going to get another shot at this from a different angle. Let's look at it one more time.
Now let's see the power that Cooney possesses as he throws that beautiful left hook. It's a very short and powerful left hook. And here Norton is basically trying to hold on because he is hurt. And Cooney's trying to get around him. In fact, he's doing a pretty good job of moving, gaining position, gaining leverage, and starting to take full control of the opportunity that he has here.
Now, he missed those 2 uppercuts, but after that, he did not miss a punch. There's 1 right here, 1, and then 2, and another punch that scores up on the shoulder, although at this juncture that could hurt. 3, 4, and 5 or 6 more punches before the referee, Tony Perez, finally stepped in and stopped the fight. There was always the question about the right hand. That question was answered tonight. Right now, Larry Merchant is up in the ring. Let's go to Larry and see if he has a report on Ken Norton. Larry?
Exactly 4 years ago tonight, Ken Norton ended the dreams of Dwayne Bobbitt with a 58-second KO in the first round. I was here at the time, and I was thankful that I wasn't getting paid by the round. Here tonight, he lasted about twice as long, and that's all. This fight has been star-crossed from the very beginning when it was originally scheduled for a big MAPS promotion here at the Garden. It came back, and the only people who have been hurt worse than Ken Norton tonight have been Madison Square Garden's promoters, because the fight only drew about 7,000 or 8,000 people. The 2 fighters were promised a total of almost $2 million. There was nowhere near that here in the Garden tonight. Estimates that they may have lost up to $1 million. Now the heavyweight division stands something sort of like this. Larry Holmes is acknowledged and recognized, and rightly so, as the best heavyweight in the world. Right behind him, Mike Weaver, who is a WBA champion, and Gerry Cooney, who is the #1 ranked challenger. And 2 very promising youngsters right behind them, Mike Dokes and Greg Page, both unbeaten, both highly talented. I doubt, however, that Gerry Cooney is going to come out of this fight unscathed. He still hasn't beaten a live young fighter. Now we're going to go back to ringside with Ray and Barry.
Okay, thank you, Larry Merchant. Well, point well taken. The Garden did come out probably the biggest loser. Unquestionably, the biggest winner was Gerry Cooney. Ken Norton had said long ago, actually before he went into his 15-month retirement, that after the Muhammad Ali fight at Yankee Stadium, he was never the same fighter again. He lost the fight in that case that he thought he won. It went 15 rounds, and Norton fought a great fight, went right down to the final round before he lost it. He said, I never trained so hard again. He said, I never could put the same kind of drive, the same kind of feeling into it. I have never been the same fighter ever since. I think that was clearly evident tonight. Ray, I would think that at this point, were you to be Ken Norton, you would have to say, it's been a great business, and now let's think about the movies.
I'm quite sure Ken Norton, he knows fully well now that his career here in the ring has ended, and he's a smart enough man to know that. Your body, it tells you, sends you messages in very mysterious ways, and I'm quite sure Ken Norton has received that message.
All right, we're going to get an opportunity to see that punch once again. The punch that really did the damage was the very first punch of the fight. It was a straight right hand. They started in the middle of the ring. Actually, Norton doing a lot of bobbing and weaving and up and down kind of motion rather than the kind of peekaboo style that had become his trademark defensively. Here's another look at it. Larry Merchant has joined us ringside. Now, Larry, let's talk about your evaluation of it. That first right hand really was all she wrote.
Well, we've talked about this all night long. Ken Norton's problems are early in fights. If he gets past the first few rounds, his confidence grows. But there he was caught by the right hand, and his knees buckled, and he goes to the ropes. Again, characteristically, he did that against George Foreman. He did that against Ernie Shavers. He's doing that against a smart and very strong young fighter here, and he just can't handle it. The left hand right there was the finisher, I believe. He got stunned earlier, and there he goes, and he just got pinned against the bottom strand of the rope, and he was sitting there somehow subconsciously just trying to stay upright by sitting on that bottom strand, but just taking more and more punishment. He was dazed. and helpless. He's all right now. We were in a corner. The
running around a net like that, then doors are locked. That's like 6 laps.
Not fun to watch either. If they work as a team, I would yes. The thing is, those people are at such a high level.
I don't know how people get people so easy.
Well, they've probably been playing a long time. That's why when you play these internet games, if you don't buy them right, if you're not playing them right to start with everybody else, then you're going to fall way behind, and they're all just going to give you smarter. Anyway, see you tomorrow, everybody.